Good day to you, everybody. This is Mike Tedesco of Wrestleview.com. I am here for a very interesting and special presentation today. Something I've been thinking about doing for quite a while, and I'm very excited that it has finally come to fruition. This is WrestleMania week. I wanted to do something big, and big in my mind is reuniting the former Wrestleview Telemundo host with the Velvet Room host. Clinton CJ Bowman is with me today. Clinton, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing pretty good. The Velvet Room, it's been a while. When I think about it, it's been a long time.
I was thinking about it because Greg McNish is coming down to WrestleMania this weekend, and we're going to have an actual meeting for the first time ever of the two hosts of Wrestleview Telemundo in person.
See, if you're doing it before the show, you need to let me know so I can come and meet you up with y'all, because I can't get to the shows this year.
Okay.
So
yeah, it'll probably be on Saturday. I think it's going to be, and I'll probably catch him again in the parking lot or something like that on Sunday, in a good way. I've usually, when I catch people in the parking lot, it's not a good thing. But
I know what you mean.
Yes, because I'm so tough. Everybody can tell, when they see me on video, I just look like a big, strong man. So
Bruh, you ain't nothing but a teddy bear, man.
Yeah, that's it. Well, it's in the last name, Teddy Tedesco. I got the whole thing going on here.
See what you did there.
Let's see. So I think everybody's in for a treat today. CJ, we're two guys from the tri-state area. We listen to a lot of talk radio.
Oh, yeah.
And you and I are both pretty damn opinionated.
I would say I'm less opinionated now, but I try to just let people know from a different perspective.
Right.
That's just me. Just because, my opinionated back in the day, let's see, this was about 10 years ago that I did this on Wrestleview. So, 10 years makes a whole 10 years, and a couple of visits to therapists actually help. I like to,
Yeah.
see, I'm self-deprecating. I like to kind of make jokes on myself a lot. So, that's the thing.
Good. If you can't laugh at yourself, then you're going to miss all the good jokes, So,
yeah.
I'm a firm believer in just don't take yourself too seriously and just enjoy life. It's a short ride anyway. And look at it. We're already getting philosophical, and we haven't even really jumped into this show yet. But
look, we're from New York and New Jersey. Come on, let's be honest. As much shit as I talk about New Jersey, because I've been there. You know what I mean? I was a New Yorker. There. You lived there. I've lived in New York all my life. Being around here, as expensive as it's starting to get to live with gentrification, all of that, you're really starting to reevaluate your life. Then if you don't, it's a little troubling. It's like, I'm comfortable here. I'm like, yeah, I'm not. So I got to think about things here.
I know. And my wife and I are starting to think about doing, big adult things and, buying property. It's like, yeah. Well, what are you going to do?
Just be happy when you decided to become a teacher, you did not have to sit the EdTPA. All right.
Yeah.
Because I have to sit the EdTPA if I want to stay in New York and teach. And I don't want to do that. I really don't. But you know what? New York pays very well. I think they pay the best in the country for teaching. I
know. I thought about going over the bridge one day and going to a PS insert number here, but it's just that traffic would just kill me. And besides, I'm very, very happy where I'm at. I'm actually lucky. I got I'm in a great district, good people, good students.
Yeah.
I couldn't ask for any more.
Right.
And but as wrestling fans, say what you want about WWE and, the whole, there's more than just WWE out there. And this, you know what? It's a great time to be a wrestling fan. It's WrestleMania week.
Mm-hmm.
And we got a ton of stuff going on here on Wrestleview. We have live coverage of every show that's going on this weekend. All the big shows, at least, there's like 50 or 60 shows in the area. CJ, you probably see advertisements for them all over the place.
They got a couple shows in Jamaica, Queens, so I know that Stardom is going to be in not South Jamaica, excuse me. It's going to be at Jamaica Terminal.
Wow.
There's going to be a show just past the Jamaica train, the LIRR train station in Jamaica for Stardom. I think it's La Boom. That's the event venue that they're holding it at. They got a couple shows. It's going to be in Rockefeller Center. some in New Jersey, Rahway, and a couple other places, and so on and so forth. Long Island may have some shows. And then obviously you have the 40-plus hours of professional wrestling that's going to be accompanying the next 10 days, starting from Monday Night Raw. So right now, we're recording this on a Wednesday. NXT and 205 Live has just ended, as well as NXT UK. So we've gone through, I would say, 8 hours of professional wrestling already from the WWE.
Yeah, no question about it. It's a lot of stuff going on, but everybody always talks about, and we experienced it in 2013, but it just in the 6 years that have really passed from that time, the brand WrestleMania has grown so much, and you wouldn't even think that that's possible because the presentation for WrestleMania in 2013 was impressive. But when they say that WWE takes over a town, and we also experienced it with the 4 SummerSlams that we've had here.
Oh yes, and I live about 30 minutes away by train and by bus from the Barclays Center. I can actually walk it if I decided to walk. It's about a 45 to 50-minute walk from my house to the Barclays Center. And
that's nice.
Just chilling out there. I remember when that neighborhood was, where Atlantic Terminal and the mall is and everything. Like, there was really nothing there. I remember when they opened up the whole place and it was a Circuit City back then. Where the Best Buy is now used to be a Circuit City. There.
Oh,
I remember
wow.
I remember when they opened up that what is that? That PC Rich and Son across the street from the Barclays Center before they opened up the Models. I remember it was just a PC Rich and Son. The terminal had just gotten redone because they were, doing track work on the 4 train over there and everything. So, they were really working on the terminal, fixing it up. They changed the traffic patterns recently. Downtown Brooklyn, where last year, if you went to SummerSlam, I know you went to SummerSlam last year, and I almost guarantee you noticed the Apple store that they opened up there. That used to be a flower shop.
Yes, the Apple Store and the Shake Shack and a whole bunch of other places that are popping up.
Triangle Sports that used to be on 5th Avenue and Flatbush Avenue and Bergen and the Dean Street Triangle over there. That closed down after the Barclays Center opened up. Like, that neighborhood of Park Slope, downtown Brooklyn, has boosted up so much. Dude, they're going so far as to go all the way out to Red Hook by the IKEA terminal for WrestleMania Access this year. And I've been around the IKEA terminal. It's a nice place to be around, but where they are in Pier 12, it's kind of backstreety and it's flood prone. Wow. And it's flood prone.
Good, they can put Sasha Banks there.
So, and then keep in mind, the Foot Locker in Times Square, Big E and Kofi are going to be there on Thursday. Sasha's going to be there on Friday for the FIFA Cross WWE, the FIFA WWE crossover thing, because they're actually doing a new shoe line based on the WWE.
Oh, wow. Feli.
So
that's really cool.
Oh yeah. I mean, New Era too bad the New Era store in like Soho had closed down because they just released a whole bunch of new hats, snapbacks, and fitteds. Like, they got WrestleMania fitted, they got the John Cena fitted, they got the Shawn Michaels fitted, all of that. And I'm actually WWE has been on an upward trajectory for a long time, and ever since WrestleMania 1. So they've been on an upward trajectory in terms of pop culture. And when they got into the 1990s, pop culture was really at its peak because this was just as the internet was booming. Shock TV was still big. So you want to keep that in mind. And then you have that lull from about 2002 after the WCW collapsed and ACW collapsed and WWE just bought the libraries and everything. So you had that lull up until about they turned PG in 2008. So you saw the benefits of WWE going PG in 2012. You didn't see it until 2012. It took 4 years for them to really get that benefit up, even past the Summer of Punk. The Summer of Punk saw a lot of mainstream stuff. The rise of Daniel Bryan saw a hell of a lot more.
No question about it. And launching their own network and becoming kind of they can kind of, make write their own check, pretty much for whatever they need.
The Bella Twins, you got the Bella Twins. Excuse me, they retired now, so they're the Garcia Twins. So you got
there you go. But you had the the reality show Total Divas and then Total Bellas and all these different spinoffs, Ms. and Mrs.
And that's a good show. Sorry, that's a good show.
It's a great show. My wife and I, well, Victoria is a big Miz fan. Everybody knows that who sees the post Raw show. She's a huge Miz fan. I had to watch that show last night, and I got to tell you, there are certain times, and I think anybody who has a significant other knows this, or if you had a significant other, you definitely know that everybody's had to do it. You've had to watch something or do something that you just weren't totally on board with. This was not one of those times. I was actually, it was like, oh my God, what a great show.
Because Miz is a genuine guy. He's a genuine guy. Like, hello, Monroe. Hello, Maurice. It's like, just the corniness, like, Michael Mizanin is just amazing.
Exactly. And like, there are some reality shows where it's like, okay, this is bullshit and this and that. But that one, I really believe that that's about as close to life as they can get. Obviously there's some stuff that's put in there to kind of increase, get you to a commercial break and what's going to happen next. But the way they interact, I think that's just them. It's very genuine.
And I'll be honest with you, I love Marjo. I really do.
Me too.
Me too. It's kind of like Ms. and Mrs. is a lot like Growing Up Chrisley. Now, a lot of people don't like Growing Up Chrisley.
Oh, I love Chrisley.
Those shows are very, very similar. It's just that Miz is a lot funnier. He's a lot more down to earth. And he's always been a really down to earth individual. Is just, he did get a lot of hate back in the day because of, he wanted to be a professional wrestler and he took this thing super seriously. And then when he came in, he was a reality star. And the whole story with JBL and things like that. I mean, I don't think JBL's a complete asshole. Everybody has their moments of being assholes, but let's be honest, wrestling is kind of like a fraternity. You're coming into this fraternity where everybody has paid their dues, quote unquote, and you're coming in off of this MTV Real World, John, and you're in there and you're just trying to be gung-ho with the rest of them. And it's like,
right.
The hell are you doing here, bruh?
Exactly. But like we're saying, like that Ms. and Mrs. thing, it's opened WWE up to so many new eyes and people that would in general just discount the genre now see it in a different light, which is amazing.
You're forgetting up, down, down. Like,
oh, of course. They've reached a whole bunch of different fan bases, and the reinvention of WWE from and again, I sometimes talk about how they actually shoot themselves in the foot sometimes and cut off their nose to spite their face. But in general, I truly am in awe of how WWE went from being like this redheaded stepchild of, the entertainment industry to a viable entity, and we're going to talk about the John Oliver piece later on this broadcast that we're making right now. Mm-hmm. But the thing, there's a lot of stuff that definitely stuck out on John Oliver. There's no question about that. There's a lot of big points that he made, but one of the most stunning stats to me, right. And I know I'd heard it before, but to actually see it just in black and white from a source that you could go to and verify, WrestleMania, the 6th biggest brand in sports, period.
I mean, you're a baseball fan. You're a Yankees fan. I'm a Yankees fan. And I'm sorry, World Series. I'm sorry, baseball kind of sucks. Let's be honest. Like baseball, I'm sorry, it's not tailored toward the modern audience. I mean, the NBA Finals isn't even as big as WrestleMania. But at the same time, when you honestly put it into perspective, the main reason WrestleMania is so big is because it's a legitimate global phenomenon. People come from all over the globe to actually take part of WrestleMania. I don't know how many different people from different countries I've seen in New York the 3 times in the last 20 years that WWE's been in New York for WrestleMania. Remember, they were in New York for WrestleMania 20 when John Cena won his first United States Championship.
I was there.
I was in high school.
Every WrestleMania that they've had in this area that I've been conscious for and could, decide whether I was going to go or not. I've been there, like I didn't get to go to WrestleMania 10, even though I was very much an excited 7-year-old, but it's, mommy and daddy aren't going to, do that for you. But, I
mean, you and I are about the same age. So it's like,
exactly. What are you born? 88 or
87?
87. Me too. I'm going to be 32 this year. I'm going to be 32 in 2 weeks. Good Lord.
Yo, happy early birthday. I'm going to be 32 in November. So,
there you go. You got some time. You got some time.
Yeah, you're just cracked 31, so it's like
you're freshly 31. Yeah. Wow, lucky guy.
So I mean, at the same time, I've never been to a WrestleMania, and I feel bad about it. I mean, I've been saying I want to go, but you know what? Life has been getting in the way, so I said, you know what? Let me just not worry about WrestleMania right now. But I did get lucky enough, myself and Sandro, going to the first two NXT Brooklyns.
Awesome.
And granted, at the time, let's talk as wrestling fans here. I liked the Sasha and Bayley match. It was kind of entertaining. I was into it because, the thing about it, on TV, it looks way different than it does live.
I was there for that as well. And I bought my ticket about 2 hours before the show went on because I just knew that I was going to go down. And I got great seats, and I had I still have it on my phone.
I saw the area where you were, because I saw the picture. I was showing Sandro, and I said, okay, he's around there. And I pointed up to the exact area where you guys were at.
That reverse Rana that she did off the top rope, where Sasha basically spiked herself on the head, was damn impressive. I was so into that match. It's still one of the best matches I've ever seen.
But at the same time,
the peak of their careers.
But in hindsight, when you really think about it, Sasha Banks and Bayley have never been good talents ever. And that's the problem. You see, in NXT, you're protected to a degree. Now, I know people are going to flip and be like, oh, but NXT is great wrestling. They let them be them. I'm like, no. NXT has the luxury of being taped for a month in advance. Their actual live pay-per-view shows are 4 times a year. So they're only technically live 4 times a year.
Right. And they do all their tapings for the month in one day, in 2 nights, and they can just sit in the performance center and practice their matches forever. It's a very controlled scenario, and in fact, one that I really do feel in the long run overall,
it has hurts
the performers. Yes,
it has hurt a lot of performers coming up. You see, the thing about it, it's hurt the performers who have had to go through a lot of reprogramming. Okay? So there's a lot of performers that had to go through a lot of reprogramming, such as Bayley, such as Emma, such as Ricochet, such as Adam Cole, and so on and so forth. But then you have Kevin Owens.
Yeah, he's been basically, the same?
Yeah, he's wrestled the WWE style all his life. Yeah. I mean, yeah, he did some crazy moves, and I've been to a couple ROH shows where I've been to both of the last 2 ladder wars that they did, that him and Sami Zayn did. I was there live for both of them and enjoyed the hell out of both of them. But Kevin Owens and even Samoa Joe to a degree, they've had flourishing careers. People say, oh, but Samoa Joe always loses.
Who cares?
He's good. He just got his first United States Championship. I'm glad. I'm happy. At the same time, Joe has always been entertaining. There hasn't been a moment where Joe was never entertaining.
Right, and he's a tremendous performer. He's just gets it. He's the complete package. He kind of reminds me of just like old school 80s heel, just this big dude that you just know could wreck you. And it's not like one of those things where you have to suspend your disbelief. You just look at him and go, I believe that guy could truly hurt somebody.
Can I tell you the truth? Dude's King Kong frickin' Bundy. All right, I'm just
that's a great comparison right there.
He's King Kong Bundy. He's Stan Hansen, like frickin' Earthquake, dude. Like, he is a big dude that can.
John Tenta. Wow.
He's a big dude that could mess you up.
Yeah, what's stunning about Samoa Joe is that he's been on the main roster since 2017. This is his first WrestleMania.
And that's fine. That's absolutely fine. Because the Usos phenomenal. Have never been on the main show until last year?
Yeah. Yeah. So no. Oh, yes. Yeah, you're right. They were on the main show last year. I had to think about that, and I remember. Yes, it was the Bludgeon Brothers.
Yeah.
Beat them, but yes. And they're going to be on the main show again this year. I was actually stunned when they came out. They came out with the match that were going to be on the pre-show today. It's everybody knew Buddy Murphy, Tony Nese was going to be on the pre-show. I called that a million years ago.
And then you got the two. Sorry to interrupt. The Battle Royales.
Yes, exactly. 2 battle royals as well, which they did. It's basically the same lineup as last year, but I was convinced that the Usos were going to make the pre-show. I'm very, very happy.
No, you weren't. You weren't convinced they were going to make the pre-show. You were highly convinced that Raw, not Raw, the WWE Women's Tag Team match was going to be on the pre-show, and I was hoping for that too because I have no interest in that match at all.
I know. Well, no, if I could just correct you, I was saying it screams pre-show. It screams kickoff show.
You're right.
And it should be on the kickoff show by all rights. And I'll go further and say, by all rights, it shouldn't even be on the show, period.
But Beth Phoenix, I mean, to be fair, Beth Phoenix is coming out of quote-unquote retirement to do it, so it's kind of a big deal, and I understand why they're doing it.
It's a big deal in the bubble, where Beth Phoenix is a Hall of Famer, that means it's supposed to mean something, but it doesn't quite have the drawing power that it used to.
Do you really understand why? Let's call a spade a spade. Let's talk about this. Let's really talk about this. I think this is something. Nia Jax and Tamina. I'm sorry. I love Nia. I love what they tried to do after the Rumble. I like what they are still trying to do with her. The problem is because of the way the main event for WrestleMania is set up, it has affected both rosters negatively.
I have to agree because everything else is like an afterthought. Like there's only 3 women on the roster, and the rest of them are just like, well, here we are. We also have uteruses. Let's just pay attention to us. It's like,
and I don't mind. Here's the thing. The thing about it for me is that I don't mind you putting an emphasis on Becky, Ronda, and Charlotte. I don't mind that, right?
We have no choice. They're the main event anyway.
So I'm not one to say, Asuka deserves. I'm like, nobody deserves anything. But at the same time, you have to kind of think about you have all these other talents here that could have done something. You could have actually shrunk the field for the Raw. No, sorry, I keep calling it the Raw because it's mostly on Raw. Sorry. The WWE Women's Tag Team Championships. You could have shrunk the field completely. You could have even gone to a point where you just brought up 2 NXT tag teams for the Elimination Chamber if you were going to be hell-bent on that. Like you do have the tag teams down there. The women's talent that are together down there, but at the same time, I understand why they didn't, because the only real established team down there right now that people actually give a damn about, Kairi Sane, Io Shirai. Outside of the 4 MMA horsewomen where Marina Shafir and Jessamine Duke haven't really had a match yet.
They are not ready for the big time right now.
That's what
all.
I'm saying. Yeah, they're not ready for the big time. Tanara Conti and Bianca Belair could be a good fit, but I don't think they'll do that. And Bianca Belair is still in the singles hunt. So there's that.
I think Casey Catanaro has women's tag team written all over. I think that.
Casey has NXT Women's Champion written all over her in the future.
I agree with that. Yes, but when she comes up to the main roster, they're going to think, too small, this and that.
That's fine.
I believe that she could be part of like a really good tag team, almost like an updated Jumping Bomb Angels, where but there's actually like jumping and like real stuff, like good stuff coming on. I thought that she had a great little spot in the Rumble. She's got a lot going on. I like the Casey Catanera presentation there.
Catanzaro is really good at what she does, and And this is just her, for the most part, doing house shows and training in the Performance Center. Now, let's move on beyond that. Then you have Beth Phoenix and Natalya, and then the Iconics. I think the Iconics are the only team that I really give a damn about because they're the only characters there.
Yes, they're the only ones that are truly committed to being a tag team. Like this Beth Phoenix and Natalya thing. It's just a reuniting of a tag team that everybody forgot existed, and now it's supposed to be a big deal again.
To be fair, the Divas of Doom weren't that bad, and that's the thing people need to forget. People need not to forget they were fun, dude. Their feud with Lay Cool was probably one I'd put up there because that was fun.
I enjoyed that. It jumped the shark for me when they started having Natalya farting all the time.
But that was before that. That actually happened before that, if you remember correctly.
That was at the beginning of the team.
Yeah, that was at the beginning of the team, but at the same time, after they just dumped the whole farting gimmick thing, and they brought the the whole, table, the pink tables. That tables match was actually pretty legit. I had a lot of fun watching that match, and they got some time on that one.
That's a good one. I totally forgot about that match, and now I do. It was all of a sudden TLC. You said pink tables, and I remember it clearly now.
Yeah, it was at TLC.
Yeah, they did some good bumps in there too.
Yeah, they got time. And when I say they got time, that was one of the few women's matches that actually got time. So you can't say that WWE wasn't giving them time. It's just, I still say the fans have a lot to do with it. And and I love the fans that say, oh, well, if the WWE doesn't give a fuck, why should I? Excuse my language. No, you need to give a damn so the WWE can give a damn. I'm sorry. They're not catering to you. Like, what?
I know.
Like, you may pay your money to be entertained, but they're not catering to you. Like, this whole culture of, oh, you must do this for me for me to care. I'm like, no.
That's a symptom of our, me society. Generation me is what's going on, and it is rampant, and it was, as great as the Daniel Bryan thing was to, and it was an organic build, and goddamn it, of course they should have gone with it as soon as it started happening, but they waited so long that it made the fans feel like they initiated change. And now they've since then have felt, okay, we can take over shows, we can just sabotage matches, we can do whatever we want because we got what we wanted this one time. And
when the big thing is that I despise when they have John Cena come out and enable this shit. And it's dude, no, that is the worst thing to do. The one thing that I loved was Cesaro healing it up and breaking that beach ball. I was like, oh, that was great. Yes, please.
That was great. That was the best. Actually, the one I'll tell you, the one I hate the most, and I think you'll agree with me, is anytime someone wins the title, they wait. They're basically like remember when Sasha Banks and Bayley won the women's tag? They're just sitting around waiting for the "You deserve it" chant. I hate that one the most.
Listen, nobody deserves anything. I said this earlier in the show. Nobody deserves a god dang thing. Okay? You bust your ass to get to that spot. Okay? You don't deserve it. Nobody's handing this out to you.
Exactly. All right, CJ. We're talking about the women's tag team title match, but let's talk about WrestleMania as a whole. Right now, currently, I'm looking at a list of 15 matches.
12 matches. I don't count the pre-show. So it's 12 matches on the main card. 12
matches, according to everybody's favorite wrestling journalist, Dave Meltzer. John Cena, and he keeps saying, I've been told there might be a 13th match with John Cena. There's going to be the Elias thing. You just know something's going to happen with that. Who's going to come out, interrupt? What's going on?
I'm sorry for the side, but fuck Dave Meltzer. Like, seriously.
Of course.
No, but I'm like, I'm tired of hearing his name. I'm sorry. Dude has been getting shit wrong for so long. Listen, every broken clock is right 2 times a day. But at the same time, like, look, listen, as far as we're concerned, rumors aside, we have 12 matches on this card.
Oh, yeah.
Because let's call a spade a spade. For the first 3 matches on this card, people are still going to be filing in. So, like, other than that, 12 matches on the card. And everybody was talking about 17 matches. Please.
Yeah, I know. No, I get it. Well, don't forget, they did tease a Raw tag team title match that very well may come to fruition as well. But I think that would probably be on the 5 o'clock pre-show. Mm-hmm. There's going to be a 6 o'clock pre-show, which I'm sure they're going to put both battle royals on, and that the cruiserweight title match as well. Although now that I think about it, last year they put the men's the André the Giant Memorial Battle Royal that was just network only. I think the women's Battle Royal was actually
the other way around, because that was the one with Gronk. No,
that's 2 years ago.
That's 2 years ago.
That last year Matt Hardy won it, and I believe that was on the network because they didn't give a fuck. And then as soon as it went to the USA Network, then they did the other 2 matches.
Yeah, you're right. The USA Network one, because I remember that happening around 6:30. So I was like,
I have a sneaking suspicion if they're going to do the Raw Tag Team title match, I think that's going to be at the 5 o'clock just to keep people kind of interested, you know, through the whole hour, that first hour where you're just kind of sitting around in the sun, like, when is the show going to start?
I'm gonna say it again. I'm gonna be honest with you. I really don't give a shit. Like,
I don't care
pre-show.
either.
Like the pre-show, I've stopped caring about the pre-show since SummerSlam. Like, it's like there's no point to watch.
I hardly ever watch the pre-show. I'll be perfectly frank with you. I hardly ever watch it. But I especially now, it's like they've told you that nothing on the pre-show means anything because if you remember at Survivor Series,
it was
supposed to be a Raw sweep, and on the pre-show SmackDown won, so they kept saying Raw sweep, and then Corey Graves goes, "Oh, but SmackDown won on the pre-show." And Mike goes, "The pre-show doesn't count."
Oh God!
Why the fuck are you putting it on?
No, that's the thing. It's like when Corey Graves was on that for a whole 3 nights, and it was just hilarious. And I'm like, yo, y'all killing me here, Smalls. Like, wow.
That was great. But okay, so let's just say 12 matches. I feel obligated to have to just say that, you know, there's a potential John Cena match,
which I hope.
Just in case it happens. It's a hope. I mean, I'd love seeing John Cena, and if that comes true, that'll be like one piece of news that I'm really happy about. That'll be one room I'm very happy about.
I want the fans to chant when John Cena's music hits. John Cena's hair. Cena's hair.
I'll try to start that in my section. I'll let you know right now.
Oh yeah. Oh man.
CJ, what are you most looking forward to on this WrestleMania?
I'm looking for Ronda Rousey to rip the shit out of Becky Lynch and Charlotte. I'm sorry. Like I'm looking forward to that main event now. Since Monday night, I caught, because I was at work, so I caught the segment by itself, and that segment was so entertaining. I laughed throughout the whole segment because it was something you would have seen during Austin versus DX.
No question, yeah.
That was Austin versus DX. Dude, I fully expect, listen, part of me kind of wanted Becky Lynch to actually come out with a truck and break Ronda Rousey's car or something. I don't know, right? You know,
it was so preposterous and so asinine that it was
good,
amazing.
That's the thing. You know, the Attitude Era was literally, okay, let's call the Attitude Era what it was. The Attitude Era was asinine, but it was so over the top that
it was good.
It was entertaining. And that's what the WWE needs to start to embrace. Here's the problem with the indie wrestling boom that came in 2000 and that came in the mid 2000s and up into 2010 and stuff. They was focusing so much on how New Japan did things. When the talent came in, you saw that shift in the WWE. Now that you got like Ronda Rousey and Becky Lynch and Charlotte at the top on the women's side of things, you know, and you're seeing these things work out, like people are getting reacquainted with the craziness that was the Attitude Era.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so you have that craziness that you would get from like the 90s, but it kind of works now. Even though there was a lot of bumps in the road to that match, towards this match, because a lot of people thought it was overbooked. A lot of people thought that Charlotte shouldn't even be in this match. And I'm like, if you follow the story since Survivor Series, or even SummerSlam, if you want to go that far back, because this has been a 9-month storyline.
Oh, no question about it. And, you know, I always think of it from like, you know, a logical, like, you know, I always try to get in the mind of like the actual booking decisions that go on there. And I've talked about it on the Post Raw show, but I've no problem, you know, repeating myself. It's I just love hearing myself talk too, by the way, you know, but it's Ronda Rousey versus Becky Lynch is an exciting match on its face, but in execution, you would have Ronda Rousey, who is very green, carried by Nikki Bella to a great main event at Evolution.
Because Nikki Bella is better than most people give her credit for, but because she's Nikki Bella, she's going to get undue hate. And I'm like, no.
I talked about that 2 weeks ago when she announced her retirement, and I actually opened up Post Raw. That was the one I had to do by myself. Victoria was sick that day.
I was there for that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I had to talk. I don't care if people turned off the podcast right then and there, and because I don't agree with what he says, so I will silence him and shut him out of my life, and I will never hear a contrasting opinion to myself. Meh. That's just the society now. But I wanted to make sure I said that, she was a phenomenal performer, and she helped Ronda Rousey get to a great match at Evolution. This match is that match on steroids, and there's still broken needles in their butts from shooting up the steroids.
And I'll be honest with you, and I will throw it 100%. The thing about it is, you got to give Ronda Rousey all the credit in the world too, because Ronda Rousey actually put that work in. It's not that
no doubt.
Nikki carried her to the match. She did some heavy lifting, but Ronda actually held her own. She
executed. Oh no, I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying that Ronda is like knuckle dragging like total greenhorn where she can't handle herself. I'm just saying that she needs somebody in there for pacing. You know what I mean?
Oh yes, definitely.
She's very fast. And you can tell that like when she scooped Dana Brooke up a couple weeks ago and nearly spiked her on her head doing just a simple, spinning Samoan drop. She almost spiked her on her head because she's moving so fast.
But she slowed down. She did slow down after Evolution. It's just when the heel turn came, she just said fuck. They said fuck it, and she went right back into speeding it up because it made sense for the character.
It does make sense for the character, but I also think that she gets carried away by the emotion sometimes, and she really gets locked into a really good moment. She knows when a moment is happening, and she gets a little more amped up.
She's an actor by trade.
She's awesome. I think she's such a godsend to WWE, and it's really, without her, there's no main event right now.
Foreshadowing, because we're going to talk about character work.
Oh yes. Becky Lynch. I don't know if they could have carried a main event by themselves. That would have been great. Charlotte Flair is the glue that's going to make this thing
Shouts
really
out to your
awesome.
boy Roy Nemmer last night. Today, again, we're recording on a Wednesday. During the SmackDown recap, he said this on Twitter. Becky peaked a month too early. I agree.
I agree. I said I was saying that a little while ago too. That there was at one point she came out on Raw. I think it was mid-March, and the reaction was just like, oof.
Yeah, there was no reaction for Becky. None.
Yeah.
The reaction is still tepid for Becky in most places.
Very tepid. And in fact, she came out and did the little weirdo thing on Raw this past Monday. And, that didn't get any laughs. And it was just, she was marching down to the ring, standing tall. And just anytime she did something, it didn't get the reaction.
But when Ronda and Charlotte did, ooh.
Charlotte, yeah.
And that's the thing. Why do you think WWE was so hard on for Ronda versus Charlotte? Because they knew something that we didn't. Look, as a wrestling fan, I am telling you this. I've watched wrestling since 1989. I remember watching Macho Man Randy Savage on Fox 5 New York. Wow. WWF Superstars. That was entertaining. WWE knows something that we don't. We need to just stay in our lane.
Yes,
and
no question about it.
And understand that here's the thing. I like Becky Lynch as a person. Rebecca Quinn is a very, very nice person. I've never met her in life, but from what I hear, she's a very nice person. Ronda Rousey, very competitive person. You have to also understand her mother is a gold medalist in judo as well. So there's a lot of pressure on her as a person.
Oh, yeah.
And her husband was in the UFC as well, even though they're coach. We can talk about that in another time. Charlotte Flair is Ric Flair's daughter. There's a lot of pressure all in there. But the thing about it is, who rose to the occasion? Ronda rose to the occasion, even though she was part of the UFC hype machine. Charlotte rose to the occasion of trying to separate herself from being her father. It didn't work, so she said, I'm going to be my father, and people are reacting to her. Mm-hmm. Let's call a spade a spade. I remember when she did the full heel turn, instigated everything, was being an instigator from like January after the Rumble on, egging Becky on and everything. Every week on SmackDown, coming out, cracking jokes, popping shit, everything. And I'm sitting down there with a big shit-eating grin on my face like JBL. Every time she comes out and starts talking, dude, she's doing her job. Like, Becky's just coming out trying to be Stone Cold Steve Austin, no real character, smirking when she's supposed to be serious. Like,
right. Yeah, like nothing. I don't take anything seriously. I don't like that kind of I've never liked that kind of character work. That was always like my one big criticism of John Cena is like he would lose the title on a pay-per-view and then the next night he'd be coming out cracking jokes, making smiling.
But that's Cena. But that worked for Cena. And I'm not saying this as a huge John Cena fan. I'm saying it in the framing of his character his motto and gimmick and things like that. Dude, he's basically what the kids look up to. Is like, look, you know what? I lost, but guess what? I'm just going to pick myself back up, dust myself back off. That works for Cena. That worked for Hogan. It's not working for Becky.
Well, yeah, and she hasn't even gotten to anything where she really needs to even do stuff like that yet. How do you see this match going? I think it's going to be like a female Brock Lesnar match almost.
Oh, dude, it's going to Ronda's going to take him to Suplex City. I'm sorry. Like, yeah. It's gonna be Rowdy Buster City, like legit. Like everybody's getting Rowdy Buster, everybody's getting judo arm throwed. There's gonna be like, I agree with Doug. There's gonna be weapons. There's gonna be tables. There's gonna be chairs. There's gonna be kendo sticks. Yo, it's going to be nuts. Like it's going to be train wreck. It is going to be car crash wrestling. When I say car crash wrestling, I'm talking about the main event of Evolution car crash wrestling. You know, actually, no, not the main event. The Becky match.
The Becky match. Yep. It's going to be awesome. It really is. And I think that at the end, I see Becky Lynch standing tall at the end of this. I think she'll get her heat back. I don't
want her to have the Sonic and Mario titles. Come on, no.
I know.
No, it makes no sense. If you do that, you mess up unless they plan on unification, they mess up the whole roster.
Well, someone's gonna have both titles no matter what. It's winner take all.
No, but Becky's character can't fit that. Ronda's character fits that way better.
I agree, and it remains to be seen what they do with her,
right?
And what's in store for her future.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be happy about. I'm really not gonna be happy about Becky at all, like winning that title, because Becky's gonna end up on Monday Night Raw. So that's the plan. Well, Becky's on Raw. Ronda might end up on SmackDown, and Charlotte will be going to Raw in the Superstar Shakeup on April 15th. That's gonna happen. No doubt about it.
But I think the way she's been positioned, and even as recent as this Monday, she's still positioned. Cutting promos saying the McMahon family's holding her down, all this stuff. She's still positioned as like this, corporate buster almost.
But hold on, Stephanie and Triple H actually tried to save your ass. Like what?
Well, that's a whole different thing, because they flip flop back and forth between face and heel in the same storyline.
No, here's the thing. They weren't flipping. Okay, the Triple H thing. I think I know what you're talking about. The Triple H thing on SmackDown. Nah, Triple H was being Papa H. That's who he was being.
That one I get. But there was another one with Stephanie on Raw. It's more Stephanie than Triple H. Triple H, once he noticed, I think once they decided that he was going to go against Bautista and he was going to be the face, they removed him from this thing immediately.
The Stephanie thing was like,
it came down to just Stephanie.
I feel like because she had to do what her father said. And that's it.
Right.
But I think that's like everything she did was begrudging. Like you can see it in her when she's cutting the promos. Of course. She's one of the better character actors on this roster too. Everything she did it begrudgingly. She really didn't want to do it.
See, I didn't catch that from her. That's where shoddy commentating comes into play here, because that story is not explained either.
I keep telling you, Michael Cole just does not give a shit, and Michael Cole wants to leave, and he wants to go and help out NXT. He wants to help out Mauro, Percy, and Nigel, and all of them.
That very well may be. That's speculation, but that very well may be.
No, Cole has said it. He wants to leave. Like, Cole,
I've never heard him say it.
Cole's been on record, from what I understand. Like, I'm trying to remember this correctly, but I know Cole has been on record saying that he wants to leave and go just do backstage work.
Well, yeah, they need to start setting up a successor if that's the case, which they
apparently it's Renee Young. That's from what people are saying.
Christ. Oh my God. That's
as play-by-play, she'll be fine as play-by-play. It's just that she needs to get away from Corey Graves. Corey Graves works. He works with. Sorry for interrupting. He works with Phillips and Saxton and Otunga. You know what I'm saying?
There's just too much Corey Graves, period.
That's what I said. Put him on SmackDown with Otunga. Put him on SmackDown with Saxton. Put him on SmackDown with Phillips. All four of them work together really well. So you can do that, and it makes for a fun television on SmackDown.
Well, I'm not a big fan of these multi-person booths. I still like, that third person is always kind of just redundant and kind of just there like, hey, I'm also here.
Well, they made it work. Well, they made it work on SmackDown. Like you can say, I think you can say that for certain. They made it work on SmackDown.
Yes, I can admit that. But on Raw, it's just they have never found the right combination. They never have.
Because the thing about this, let's call a spade. I'm sorry to interrupt again. I had this idea in my head.
Oh, do your thing.
Now, Michael Cole and JBL, good combination of commentary. They've always been good together, just them two, right? Ever since on SmackDown. You put Jerry Lawler with that, and it's like,
You know what the funny part about Jerry Lawler is that he was just kind of finding his groove being like this heel commentator again with Mauro Ranallo, and they pulled him.
Because of the whole JBL joint.
Yes.
And it's like, everybody's like, oh, JBL's an asshole. I'm like, dude, I really think Mauro just could not handle the pressures of being on the road, could not handle the pressures of, having Vince in his ear. He's
a great commentator. But his thing is that he does the Showtime box. He does the big events and all that stuff, but they're not every week. You have to be on every week. That's tough for a guy with the disability that he has.
Yeah, I mean, he is technically, and he's going on record, so I can say this, he is manic depressive, and that's the thing.
They had an amazing documentary about that too, about his fight with that.
I think it was the E60, if I remember correctly. And it was really entertaining to see. I got to really know who Mauro, and I have that respect for Mauro Ranallo. Mauro Ranallo works on commentary in NXT because he doesn't have to be on the road so often, and that's the best part for him. Being on the road is rough.
Right. It's bi-monthly pretty much.
Exactly. So you're being
it's a great deal. It's a really
instead
really great
of being
deal.
on the road like the way they did with SmackDown, you're on the road every single week. It's not like back in the day where you just had to sit there, not really do any real commentary, and then go back and do ADR work. On Wednesday, like that's what they used to do. It used to be tape on Tuesday, go to Connecticut for Wednesday, do ADR work for the in-match stuff, and then Thursday and Friday night.
Yep, and that was actually they made it work. They did a good job with it. All right, let's get back to WrestleMania here. I'll tell you what I'm looking forward to. And you already took the main events for me, so I will not say.
You're probably also looking forward to the other main event on SmackDown, aren't you?
No, I am not.
Really?
The Daniel Bryan Kofi Kingston thing, I'm looking forward to it, but the thing I'm really looking forward to is actually, believe it or not, AJ Styles versus Randy Orton.
I'm not even going to guess why you're looking for it. I'll tell you why I would probably be looking forward to that, to see what kind of RKO this guy does.
Yes, I am very interested to see the RKO. I still think one of the best RKOs I ever saw was the counter of a curb stomp into the RKO.
The prettiest. I mean, everybody says the prettiest one is the Evan Bourne shooting star RKO.
That was good too. That was really good. For my money, For my money, the Randy Orton Seth Rollins one was friggin' awesome, and you could tell that when he hit it because it was at WrestleMania. The Evan Bourne thing was on a random Raw.
Yeah.
This was WrestleMania. This was a really awesome visual, and it's a shame that it kind of got lost in the shuffle when they removed the curb stomp from Seth Rollins because it's like, well, we're not going to show that because it's him trying to do this move, which we've now banned.
Yeah.
But you could tell when he hit it. If you go back and look at a video of him hitting it, he gets up and you can tell he is absolutely jacked up that they executed this thing to perfection.
Did you hear the interview? Did you hear the interview that he did when he talked about getting that? Because Randy Orton did. Okay. Oh, this is on Wrestleview.com, ladies and gentlemen. You can find it there.
How terrible am I?
The thing about it was that Randy Orton was really kind of not against it, but he was cautious of it because he likes to bat 1,000 at WrestleMania. He's a perfectionist when it comes to what he wants to do. So, they were trying to practice. They were trying to get it. They couldn't get it right. So when they finally got it right in practice, Seth was like, thank God we got this right. Can I just lay down here for a minute? They were so pleased that they got that right in practice. Like, they really, put the work in for that.
Yeah, that's really awesome. I love that one, and I think they could figure out something really awesome to do. You know what I would love is a springboard 450 into an RKO.
A spinal tap into an RKO. Yes.
Yeah, that'd be pretty damn sweet too. I loved the promo work building up to this. I thought it was very compelling.
Kevin Owens last night though.
Oh, that was great. That was really very hilarious. This is the beginning of the feud, though, so I think that it'll probably wind up with Orton going over here.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that we're set up for a series of actually some pretty good matches, and I think this one's going to be something pretty damn good.
You're probably going to end up setting up. I think you're going to probably end up setting up a Randy Orton versus Kofi Kingston championship match, and then kicking it over to AJ Styles after a while.
You see, oh man, I love the Kofi Kingston thing because it was organic, and for as much as people say, oh, when is he going to put the fans in charge? I thought we were going to get Cyber Tuesday every single week, or Taboo Tuesday. That was the one. Cyber Sunday. I got my days mixed up. But I don't think people realize that Becky Lynch isn't getting catapulted to the main event of WrestleMania without the fans being supremely behind her. She's not winning the Royal Rumble. That's for damn sure.
And I still give Ronda Rousey a lot of the credit for coming in, because if Ronda Rousey didn't come into the company when she did,
Becky Lynch would be nothing.
Exactly.
She never would have had somebody to play off of.
I mean, Charlotte, you could have played off of Charlotte, but that would have got tired quick.
Right. But that the plan was probably going to be Daniel Bryan versus Kevin Owens, because Kevin Owens was doing the everyman thing, and that seemed like it was building to something. And now Kevin Owens is André the Giant, Battle Royal, if he's even going to be in.
Which is fine because he just came back from injury, so it's okay.
Right. And also, but also the organic build of Kofi Kingston. They listen to the fans. Kofi Kingston is absolutely not in this match without that. But at the end of the day, I think Daniel Bryan is so red hot as the Planet's champion. I think there's going to be so many faces going over. I think Daniel Bryan's going to go over.
I think Kofi is going to go over, and Daniel Bryan's probably going to get the belt back either in May or at Money in the Bank in Philly.
Or it could be one of those Zack Ryder Intercontinental title reigns, and he gets it back on Tuesday.
Yeah, it could be. Kofi Kingston is champion. I mean, you can now officially say that we had a black WWE champion, even though The Rock was WWE champion.
Of course. But I'm also a conspiracy theorist. I think that Luke Harper put out that really long post about how it's full circle and this access match is so important to him. Mm-hmm. I think he comes out and joins the stable.
Oh, so we're gonna just totally do the Planeteers. We have Captain Planet, we have Wheeler, we have Kwame. So who's gonna be Linka? Who's gonna be Guy? And who's going to be Mati?
I know we'll find him. We'll find him. Maybe it's time to. What was that guy that Oh god, they had a guy who was like a environmentalist on NXT at one point.
Oh, you talking about CJ Parker, aka Juice Robinson?
Yes. Maybe they can hire him back.
Nah, he don't want to come back. He ain't going.
I know.
It'd be funny though.
Messing around, but like the guy kind of fits the mold. Okay. I could also say just for my wife, Miz versus Shane McMahon, because I just want to see what kind of stunt Shane McMahon does.
I'm telling you, Shane is jumping from the goddamn WrestleMania ring.
I don't think that's not a possibility. It's like it could happen. It definitely could.
Like we're gonna be seeing Marissa McMahon and her two kids just like, well, that's the end of our family.
Yeah. That's the money train has officially come to an end. What are you not looking forward to on this card?
I am not
other than the women's match.
I am not looking forward to truth be told, there's nothing I'm not really looking forward to. If you want to put it in terms of what I am kind of tepid on, which is a better term for that, it would actually end up being Bobby Lashley, Finn Balor.
Oh yeah. I thought you were going to go for the obvious with Kurt Angle and Baron Corbin. I was going to say that as well. Finn Balor and Bobby Lashley.
No, I like the Kurt Angle, Baron Corbin. I've been on record in Wrestleview Weekly. I've been on record on Raw post show. Baron Corbin has the best cutoff spots in the game. The best cutoff spots in the game.
Everything except that clothesline.
No, that clothesline is sexy. And it is way better than Dean Ambrose's. It's
no doubt.
better.
The lunatic lariat, it's way better than
the
that.
Rebound clothesline, excuse me.
Yeah.
I'm going to call it that. That was not good. His outside the ring clothesline, it makes sense because you're ducking him, but you're trying to reorient yourself, and all of a sudden, boom, Baron Corbin's right in your face. And he's like, what's up? What's up? I'm back here. Bang, clothesline. Like, you just don't
every
have no
now and then it just feels clunky though. Sometimes
because it depends on the opponent.
That's true. Or but he's a little. I always thought he's a little slow getting back in the ring, where it almost takes away the organic nature of it, and it's so set up that
he has linebacker speed.
It's like one of those like the Charlotte Flair twisting moonsault, which she's going to do too, and it's going to take her about 5 minutes to set it up. I think of it in terms of that.
It's not just her that has to set that up. That's the thing. With Baron Corbin, remember, Baron Corbin has linebacker speed. So, he has that slow out the gate start, but he has that burst of speed that he can follow up with. Right. So you have to think of in terms of like the NFL. He has that kind of burst of speed that he has to work up to in order to make that work effectively. But it works amazing with slightly fast opponents who have to like reorient themselves. It works against big guys like Braun Strowman who are big and clunky.
Yeah, so I wonder what Kurt Angle's going to do with it. I just don't think that match should go long at all. I mean, they are so tepid on Kurt Angle doing anything that they canceled his match on Raw.
It'll be the John Cena. Not John Cena. It'll be the Baron Corbin Jinder Mahal match all over again without the John Cena interruption. It'll just be Baron Corbin getting a little too big for his britches. Angle hit a couple angle slams, hits a couple German suplexes, hits an ankle lock. End the match. Everybody goes home happy. I mean, Angle goes home happy. He starts crying in the middle of the ring, puts his boots in the middle of the ring, walks away, whatever the case may be. That might be the case.
I almost think that he should do the German suplexes, and then Baron Corbin hits him end of days, and and pins him.
Yeah.
I think, because the one thing that has kind of turned the tide a little bit, when he used to come out, it used to be groans, and now it's like almost he comes out and it's fun to boo him, and sometimes that's not bad heat.
He figured it out.
That's not bad heat at all, and I think that if he beats Kurt Angle, he'll be hated forever, and I actually think that'll take him to the next level.
That's what I'm saying. He figured it out.
Yeah. Well, they figured it out. The big turn, CJ, if you remember, because they were getting ready to blow him off. Mm-hmm. I truly believe that. I said that back in December when they did it, that they beat him up, they embarrassed him, they made damn sure that look, he is no longer the interim general manager. He's not Constable Corbin. He's not interim general manager. He's nothing. We beat him down. He's going back to mid card. But when he was standing in the ring with the McMahons, you could tell that how excited Vince was getting by this reaction that went through a commercial break, and they were egging it on. The next week, the guy's starting a fucking stable again.
You have to understand, the thing about it is that Vince McMahon really, really likes, right? The one thing Vince McMahon likes is when you can get so organic and do your job well and invest in yourself well enough that you can get that reaction from the crowd, and it's natural and it feels good. Vince loves it, dude. The New Day, dude. Remember, Xavier Woods was actually if Kofi didn't get over as a heel, Xavier Woods would no longer be a wrestler.
You're right.
Vince coming out and endorsing the whole Becky Lynch, basically endorsing Becky Lynch by inserting himself in the storyline, which is something that if Vince McMahon inserts himself into a storyline, a big time storyline, that he has an investment in you. This is a 100% thing. This has always been a positive with Vince McMahon.
I actually wish that he got more involved in it. He was involved that one night, and then Stephanie came out and did the rest. I wish that he stayed a little more involved.
Oh, I agree 100%. That was great. When Kevin Owens got involved and Vince actually took that bump for Kevin Owens, you know who Vince likes and you know who Vince doesn't like or who Vince doesn't care about. And everybody has said, Xavier Woods, John Cena, Bautista, Triple H has always said, Elias has said this, Vince likes it when you stand up for your damn self and you do what you got to do. Mm-hmm. So this is why Elias was as over as he is. Even as a heel, he's still over. You know, that's the thing. That's why Baron Corbin is over. That's why Cena was and still is the face of this company until we say otherwise. That's the one thing people have to understand. So I think I still believe that Kurt Angle picked Baron Corbin for this retirement match to put Corbin over.
It could be. It could be.
I mean, because the obvious choice would have been John Cena, but how much of a good match would that would have been?
You wanted that match. I wanted that match.
But no, in hindsight, how good would that match really be?
No, it would be
Cena
terrible.
would have to actually slow himself all the way down.
I know. It's like, honestly, I thought when they were doing the broken down Kurt Angle getting beat up by Drew McIntyre and all that stuff, I thought that was like, okay, they're just making him look broken down. Then he's going to like find himself again and kind of like make one last, victory lap. That was reality.
Yeah, you want my honest opinion?
Is broken down.
You want my honest opinion?
Oh yeah.
The Roman Reigns and Kurt Angle matches should be reversed. It should be Baron Corbin versus Roman Reigns, and it should be Drew McIntyre versus Kurt Angle again.
I agree 100%. I absolutely agree. And I initially thought they were heading Roman Reigns and Baron Corbin, especially when he went down with leukemia. I was like, God, he has a ready-made program built, because Baron Corbin was the first one to say something.
Yeah, Baron Corbin was popping all that shit. I'm shocked that they actually went in that direction, but the Drew McIntyre match is still fine for Roman. Roman would have still walked out smelling like roses regardless.
No doubt, but I like Drew McIntyre like kind of like having like this unbeatable aura. I almost don't want to see him beat yet until it's a match of like true consequence. Yeah, he's beaten by Dolph Ziggler. Everybody gets beat eventually, but I mean, like,
no, the Roman Reigns is a real consequence match because it's like, yo, you talking mad shit about my family, bro? Like, no, this is a grudge match.
I get that, but I'm saying somebody who could take, who could be equally as big with the consequences. Roman versus Baron Corbin. Baron Corbin can absorb a loss much better than I think than McIntyre could.
I agree with that.
That's where like I agree with you that they should have been reversed, and I do think that it's a little bit of a missed opportunity, a little bit of a mismatch, but but putting a bow on this, we got 12 matches. It's gonna be.
We didn't talk about the best one.
Oh, is that Triple H and Bautista?
You're darn right.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Drax the Destroyer versus the guy that was in Blade 3.
Oh, I gotta tell you, that's another one that I'm actually looking forward to a lot. It's gonna be so much fun. They're just gonna. It's not gonna be 2005. It's just gonna be a bunch of like older guys just beating the shit out of each other. Bunch of chairs being bent over backs, and.
Your honest opinion, this isn't gonna be as bad as WrestleMania 25.
No, I thought WrestleMania 25 was good.
You talking about the Randy Orton match? What?
Oh wait. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say 20? When I said 25, I meant to say 21.
21 was the Batista match. That was the Cena Batista coronation.
That's the one I'm talking about though. That and they actually positioned Batista over Cena. That's what I meant to say.
That's what I'm saying.
That was not 25. No, 25.
God,
that can't get any worse.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Triple H.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
No, Triple H and Batista was a tremendous match. I thought at 21.
Oh no, 21 was amazing. That was the Cena Batista coronation. That was that moment. I'm talking about 25, where you had this blood feud. Randy Orton kissing Stephanie dead on the lips.
Oh yeah.
Breaking into dude's house, threatening the family, and then Rest Holtz. It's like.
Well, they killed the match before it even got started. Why, in the name of all that is good and holy about professional wrestling, would you take a blood feud that people are excited to see? I got to tell you, they built it up so well. I was excited to see this match, and immediately take the wind out of the crowd's sails and say, if Triple H is disqualified, he loses the title. So now there's no weapons. It's not going to be a brawl. And what the hell can you do but rest holds to try to get some heat? They took all the heat making measures away. The guy goes to his house and throws him through the goddamn window.
Here's the thing. Remember, you can still beat him within the rules. Keep in mind, you can throw him in the barricade. You can basically beat him up backstage, get back into the 10 count, put him through a table, put him through the announcer table.
But it's WrestleMania.
Throw him into the post. Throw him into the post. Throw him into the steel steps. Do like pedigree on the steel steps, whatever the case may be. Because remember, you're not actively using the steel steps in the ring. So it's like there's so many things they could have done with that match, and then like Randy Orton becomes Captain Chinlock at that moment.
Right. But you know what? It's WrestleMania, and the crowd is conditioned for that stuff.
That shit should have been a no holds barred match.
Of course it should have. And the crowd's conditioned to when a feud gets that big, that there are weapons, that there are tables, that there are chairs. There's
or hell, Stephanie on a freaking pole match. Just call Vince Russo. I don't care.
Right.
Something.
Anything but what they did, but that's neither here nor there. We got to move on, because I want to. We could talk all night about this stuff.
Yeah, but let's move on to what we're going to be talking about. A couple of things that we're going to be talking about, right?
Yes, I want to talk about John Oliver, and I talked about it briefly on the post Raw show with Victoria. But I want to do a little more of a deep dive. I know Doug did a deep dive, and we're recording on Wednesday, but I already know what happened on his show. He did a deep dive on it, so that we're airing this on Thursday. It was yesterday. Check out Doug's show, WrestleView Weekly. Always great stuff. I still want to talk about John Oliver.
All right.
And it was an eye-opening piece in some ways. In some ways, it's just rehashing information that we already knew. What say you about the independent contractor thing? Do you think that wrestlers should unionize? Do you think wrestlers really?
Let's call a spade a spade.
Like this loophole needs to be closed. Like it's like they're like. Do you think that the wrestlers are being taken advantage of?
Let's call a spade a spade. According to Investopedia and as well as the IRS, when a worker is an independent contractor, the employer can control only the quality or result of the job, not the method through which the work is done. When the worker is an employee, the payer can mandate that the output occur in a particular place at a certain pace or certain time. The business owner has more control over the completion of the job. Now let's think about how professional wrestlers operate. Typically, professional wrestlers have control over what happens during the match. Yes, they can get the bullet points for promos. They can get the bullet points for segments and so on and so forth. But typically, the one thing that is controlled by Vince McMahon and the creative team is the matches that go on, the storylines that are a result of it, and who comes out on top of each match and on top of each storyline, or if a storyline gets abandoned. Now, hearing that, Mike, do you think that wrestlers are truthfully independent contractors, or should they be employees, just based on that definition alone?
Well, I think you can argue that it is an independent contractor thing if you put it in terms like that, but control over their matches, CJ, everybody is taught to work WWE style, and a lot of they have a producer that they have to run everything by.
That's still the quality or result of the job. The quality of the job is working in WWE style. The result of the job is who wins, and that can be controlled.
Yeah. Yes, that is controlled by the company.
The segment, like the way the matches go, the moves that are in, that's usually discussed between the talent.
In theory,
some of it has to be,
yes.
and some of it has to be approved, but most of it is through the talent.
Well, yeah, of course. There's a lot of spots that have to be called in the ring because you can't plan out every single rest hold. But I actually think that what happens in NXT is different from the main roster, where I think NXT, that is almost like if I had to guess, like, because it's everything's so choreographed and rehearsed that it's all the coaches down there showing them and telling them this would work here, do this, do this, do this.
You can still argue independent contractors for them too, but you can kind of also argue that they should be more employees than anything else.
That's what I'm saying. They're employees.
No, you can argue both sides, but the argument would be way further on the employee side of it than it would be on an independent contractor. When you get up to the main roster, yeah.
No, I get it. I think I just don't understand, like, why in this day and age with there's a lot of things that and we just spent a good portion of the show lauding WWE for everything that they've done.
Mm-hmm.
But there's still a lot of things that you could go that there are a lot of outstanding issues with this company.
And there always will be. That's every company in every business.
But theirs are a little more glaring.
So let's go through
others.
let's go through some of the problems and see what we can solve. Something that we can come up with, because there's a lot going on, and there needs to have a legitimate conversation about this.
Of course. We could go all day about it, and I'm actually on the side of them taking the money. The Saudi Arabia thing, that just leaves you open to every single bleeding heart person. I did get on board the outrage machine, because I thought it was the wrong. I didn't think that they should cancel their entire thing with Saudi Arabia, but I did not think that when Jamal Khashoggi was murdered and dissolved in acid, that they should have followed through. I think they should have talked to the prince, said, look, it's too hot. We have too much stuff going on.
But their stock didn't drop.
Of course not. Their stock didn't drop, but they took a PR hit.
Yeah, but it wasn't that bad, and that's the thing.
It wasn't that bad. But let's say Jamal Khashoggi was killed now, and they have WrestleMania coming up, and then they have the May Saudi Arabia show. That would have been worse. People don't pay attention to wrestling in November and December. Only the hardcores.
Yeah, WrestleMania is the big global event that everybody's jumping on top of. So, I understand that. I agree with that 100%. You feel what I'm saying?
Yes.
But yeah.
But I still thought, just for goodwill purposes, and I just think about that Hyundai Care charity that they did. Where I thought that was such a beautiful thing, and then they, essentially, turn a blind eye to a real global terrorism.
I got kind of into it with you and your wife about that, because I'm like, bro, leave your personal feelings out of this and release it, then investigate business wise. Is it a good idea to call out, or is it a good idea to think of what will happen? In terms of that, can it be breach of contract or whatever the case may be, or is there a way to get out of contract? This is why I always was trying to say during that month of October, find a way you can do it where nobody gets affected. If you still have to do the show, do the show. You might have to take a few hits, such as a John Cena or a Daniel Bryan not going, but that's fine.
Yes. But you know what? I was advocating, like I said, I was never really advocating for them to cancel it, because a 10-year deal where they're making all that money. Look at the money that they said that they made on the quarterly conference call.
Keep that in mind. That money doesn't stay there. That money goes here in the United States. Right.
And that's a big chunk of change. Now, granted, for big companies, that's chump change. Yeah. But for an entity like WWE, that's huge.
No, that's still chump change for them, because dude, they're $1 billion industry, and that's the thing. Nobody knows this, but the WWE is a near $1 billion industry.
No, their valuation's way more than $1 billion now. Yeah. They are big time, but that money coming in looks great to the people that classify stocks and tell you this is a hot stock. This is what you want to do. Look at their dividends and their earnings and stuff like that. That big chunk of change sitting there as an earning.
Oh yeah,
looks big. That's what I'm trying to say here.
Right.
So I never was saying they need to cancel the entire thing. My thing was, I it's easy to get carried away, and a lot of my show is, wearing my heart on my sleeve. We have opinions. We're an opinion show. So it's not that I can't differentiate between the two. I can obviously see the business side very, very well, but I talk as a wrestling fan,
of course.
And as a human being, it was just hard to accept that going over there. Yeah. So
well, anyways, what's next? What's the other thing that we got to kind of talk about here?
God, now I start talking about Saudi Arabia. You got there's a Hulk Hogan thing, just kind of, but then again, Hulk Hogan's done a great job of kind of rebuilding himself too.
Which is, people do make mistakes. I mean, granted, as a black man, I'm like, yeah, that was kind of rough. And I agree with the way Mark Henry, Big E, and all of them dealt with it. I agree. But at the same time, it's like, when do we continue to contribute to the outrage culture, and when can we just start becoming forgiving and be like, look, listen, I'm going to help you out here. All right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yes. I agree. And the outrage culture, I mean, you know, we that's a whole other topic, but it's out of hand today. There are certain things that, yes, need to be said, and there are some truly outrageous behaviors. But I mean, you know, just looking at politics now, I have friends who are Democrats and friends who are hardcore Republicans, and basically everybody agrees across the board that certain things have jumped the shark when you start attacking Joe Biden for rubbing someone's shoulders, when you see what that guy's done through his entire career, he's just a hands-on, tactile politician.
But I'll leave alone because, you know, we didn't know back in the day what sexual harassment was. Now that we know what it is, and now that we have more of a definition of it, then yeah, people have to be more careful. There's different things like that. But moving on, there's a lot of other things that we do kind of want to touch on that are glaring issues with the WWE. Obviously, like everybody's saying, the whole independent contractor deal. Remember, the only time they were investigated for the independent contractor deal was in 2012, and nothing came of that. You know, and that was only because Linda was running for Senate. That was it. Right. But other than that, like, for the entire existence of WWE being a company, they've never been under investigation for the way they contract their wrestlers until 2012. I understand, but Jesse. Go ahead.
They were under investigation, though, for the treatment of their performers, though, in 2007 following the Benoit thing.
And that was the same time where Dixie Carter decided to go to Congress and say that they're pretty much 40-year-old virgins. The fans, what?
Like, insane that happened. Insane that Dixie Carter had anything consequential to do with wrestling is insane.
I'll be honest with you. Yo, shouts out to Hunter Golden for that rant. That was great.
That's still an epic all-time rant. Still on YouTube. Check it out, Hunter Golden. If you watch TNA, you're going to hell.
Pretty much.
I still agree with that.
I watch that. So I watch that every year. It's great.
Yeah, it is good. But you think...
I want to touch on... I actually do want to touch on that a little bit more, the whole treatment of the thing. Keep in mind, this was around the same time. Remember, they also did come in and institute the toughest wellness policy in sports at the time. The NBA is catching up.
I agree.
Now.
But CJ, can you agree that they got shamed into doing that, and that they had to do that?
It was coming to the times.
Themselves.
It was coming to the times. The NFL had to do it. Remember, we didn't have enough information about CTE. We didn't have enough information about what concussions would do to the body and stuff like that.
And it's kind of amazing that it all started really with wrestling, with Chris Benoit, and that research kind of went from there.
No, Chris Nowinski, if you really think about it.
Well, he was the one who looked into it, you know, pertaining to wrestling from his own experiences of having his career ended by concussions.
Plus, he was a football player too, so you know that kind of stretched into the NFL.
Yes, but he really made a name for himself going on CNN and all the big news agencies talking about the Benoit death.
Oh yeah.
And that's what separated him from WWE, because up until 2007, basically, he was an ambassador for them. And they kept him gainfully employed. And then he started talking about that, and they distanced themselves from him.
Well, they had to.
He did great research. And now Triple H is on the board of the concussions with Nowinski, which is kind of like a full circle thing almost.
Yeah, and even so the NFL with the concussion deal, they're still dealing with it. Like the NFL still hasn't caught up, you know.
But did they use the independent contractor excuse, not treating them as employees? Do you hold them responsible for some of the deaths?
Hell no. Because the WWE has made it perfectly clear that in their contracts, and trust me, a lot of people have reported on this, in the contracts, there's a hold harmless agreement. If you are not going to, you cannot sue the WWE for anything that happens to you after your tenure with them.
Is that fair though?
Absolutely. It's legally binding.
It's legally binding, but if you know what
you're going into a professional wrestling, especially if you train on the indies. I'm sorry. What? No, like, I'm not trying to sit down there and side with the WWE, but you know it's kind of like being a police officer or a firefighter. You know exactly what you're getting into. Like, you know the dangers of it. The dangers are well documented.
Right, but the police and the firefighters have a union that can take care of them after they're broken down.
But that's the major difference. You see what I'm saying? Now, let's take a look at the WWE, you know, taking care of their thing. So John Oliver did state that, they don't pay for health insurance or anything like that. Hunter Golden made a good point on the Wrestleview Facebook group that they make enough money to pay for their own insurance.
It's not the people of today, though. I'm talking about the people of from 15, 20 years ago. But you can't.
No, I mean, right now,
they're the ones who are suffering. They're the ones who didn't have these things in place, and WWE was turning a blind eye to the drug use and the steroids.
Now they're not.
Yes, but at the time they were negligent.
Okay, so that was back in 2007. They were negligent, but the contract.
No,
they said,
not 2007. You can go back to 1987.
No,
we're
1997. That's all we're talking about. No, that's what I'm saying. We're talking about like that goes into when they were in front of the Senate Judicial Committee. That's what I'm mentioning. I know what you mean. The thing about it is with that, like, even if it's in the contract, right? It's in the contract. There's a whole harmless agreement for them. It's like, you know what you're getting into, this and the third, blah, blah, blah. We're not responsible if you have any long-term effects after, but we will try to keep you. We will try to, like, now they're going to say, we're going to try to keep you as, healthy as possible in a concussion protocol and stuff like that. Because, Daniel Bryan has been on record saying he still goes on after every match, he goes on the concussion protocol.
Yep.
After every single match. The Talent Wellness Program, this is on the WWE's website, the whole setting the record straight for Stand Up for WWE. The Talent Wellness Program, fully funded by WWE, calls for regular cardiovascular testing and monitoring, impact testing for brain function, annual physicals, medical referrals, and blood screening of WWE talent, as well as their random drug testing. The policy prohibits the use of anabolic steroids, performance-enhancing drugs, masking agents, the abuse of prescription medications, and the use, possession, or distribution of illegal drugs, which marijuana was decriminalized in the WWE's talent policy. You simply get a fine, and that's all. You don't get suspended for it anymore. You just get a fine for that, if I remember reading that a couple years ago correctly.
Yes, that's correct.
Now, WWE also does offer current and former talent who may have substance abuse problems a complete drug rehab and no cost to them. We know that Sonny's drug rehab has gotten paid for. We knew that, I want to say,
Jake Roberts,
Scott Hall. So WWE has paid for that, and this is for
Jeff Jarrett.
Jeff
Jarrett, a big success story too. Yep. By far, he's working for them now.
Only 5 wrestlers have passed away while under contract to the WWE. Also, at the same time, the WWE offers tuition assistance and to their current roster talent.
Right, but all these things are all well and good. These are all from the last few years. Mm-hmm. The John Oliver piece was very much about
But the thing about it is the fact that he used the Benoit death, the Eddie Guerrero death, which had more to do with Eddie Guerrero and WCW than it did in WWE. I'm not happy with that.
No. He didn't. He never mentioned Benoit once, which I was actually surprised about.
He didn't mention Benoit. My fault. I did see it. I thought I saw Benoit. The Eddie Guerrero death, which
the Eddie Guerrero, he led off with that. Yes, but and I think that was more just showing like he died at 38. That was more of just why they died so young.
Contract, but he was under contract, and in the 1990s, and this is when he was with WCW and ECW. Dude was going ham on the drugs. And everybody knew it. And when he came to the WWE, he had to stop. Like, Vince McMahon forced him to stop.
Well, no, he was let go in 2000.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, pretty much.
I'm sorry, 2001. He was let go July 2001. Mm-hmm. He came back in time for the draft expansion in April 2002, which was a great surprise after getting clean. I also think if you die of a heart attack at 38, I do think there's a heart defect there, kind of like the Brian Pillman thing where he had an enlarged heart. Yeah. And drugs, then, of course, played a part in that.
And even then, after Eddie Guerrero died at 38, he died I think it was like 3 days before my 18th birthday in 2005. Dude died November 13th. Dude, they gave Vicky Guerrero a job for years.
Yes, they did. I can't say that it was like she always got, she was a great character.
So you want to tell me? You want to tell me the WWE is as bad as people are putting out to be? Yes, all companies, like I say, they do shady shit. I'm sorry, the laws actually coerce that shit. If you really understand how law and loopholes work, they coerce that shit. Because people
I can agree with that.
People don't take a lot of this stuff into account. Going into the health insurance deal and, wrestlers should be in a union. I could understand Jesse Ventura in the 80s pushing for a wrestling union because they didn't really make that much money. But as of 2012, the average talent on the WWE makes $550,000 annually, with WWE covering 100% of all costs associated with any in-ring related injuries and rehab.
True, but when you make $500,000 after taxes, and then you have to, they take care of your airfare, but you have to take care of your hotel, you have to take care of your car.
They have to take care of their airfare too.
Oh, they do take care. The wrestlers take care of the airfare.
Only overseas stuff that they don't take care of.
Oh, okay. So that's another expense. WWE takes up,
from what I understand. No, even with that, to be fair and to be honest, they still make enough money. Especially with the advent of the Affordable Care Act, the marketplace. Most of these people live in places where the marketplace is actually really good. So
yes, I know. I think that's why a lot of them moved to Texas.
You and I are in New Jersey. You're in New Jersey. I'm in New York. Two of the states that have the best marketplace coverage. Sonya Deville is from Jersey. Zack Ryder, Mandy Rose from New York. Do you know how much health insurance is for somebody making $500,000 a year? If you just go for the silver plan where you still have to pay a deductible, that's $430 a month.
Yes, I agree.
You can pay for your own health insurance. And you can. And the WWE gives you like yearly physicals.
But every company does that. A lot of like I get a physical for my job. I'm a teacher.
But you have to. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, New York City doesn't really give the physicals, from what I understand. You have to go get them yourself. But at the same time, it's like that's if I'm trying to remember correctly. I'm not 100%. I haven't worked there for like a couple of years. But that's the thing. They can afford their own health insurance, especially now.
Oh no, of course, but still, I'm talking like I think that he actually wasted too much of his time talking about the lost cause of the independent contractor. I did, at the end of the day, I was playing devil's advocate a little bit. It is silly to attack them over that. It's inconsequential to today's roster. To yesteryear's roster, that's a different story.
The argument for John Oliver,
and that's how Vince was able to escape a lot of this death and a lot of the responsibility for certain things that happened in the ring and certain things that they turned a blind eye to that they knew was bad, including their doctor, what was his name?
Chris Amon?
No, not Ahmad. Zakarian from I'm thinking from the 90s when they had to do the steroid trial where they employed a doctor that was giving the steroids.
And he probably didn't know. And I'll be honest with you, like you can employ somebody, but like you don't know what they're doing unless like somebody brings it up. And a lot of the time that's the case.
I do. Well, Vince also was taking steroids, and I think he was getting them from the same guy. And they were being, in certain cases, where they got in trouble was it was being shipped to the office.
And I'll be honest with you, like Vince got lucky that he did not do any time. Like
he really did. That was very, very close. That was very, very close.
Vince learned his lesson then. Like
he did for a little bit, and then once the WCW started breathing down his neck again, then that's why so many of these guys are dead. CJ, I think because they turned a blind eye to it. They weren't really caring as much for talent wellness as they were for just coming out on top.
Baseball had the same goddamn problem.
Right. And look how they're paying for it.
But that's what I'm saying.
They got called to task for that.
But that's what I'm saying.
And these are guys that make 10 billion times much more than the people make on the WWE roster.
But understand me when I say this.
They have a union to protect them.
But that's what I'm saying. But understand me when I say this. Well, the fucking union didn't protect them. The fucking MLBPA didn't protect them. Hell no. Now they do. They didn't. I'm just saying, back then, the WWE and Major League Baseball had the same problem. Do you know what kind of, like, first of all, baseball still had the problem leading up into a long time. WWE basically took the task in 2007 and basically said, you know what? Let's implement all of this on our own. And they implemented it on their own. And it's still, to this date, the toughest wellness policy in sports.
Yes, of course.
I'm not trying to be a savior for the WWE. I'm not trying to, just be a WWE homer, because I know there's going to be a lot of people that'll sit there and listen to this podcast and be like, look, he's trying to protect the WWE because he loves the WWE. No. in the 1980s and 1990s, there should have been a wrestling union. I don't know. Hulk Hogan did make the case that, and he ratted out. And I understand the case with merchandising, because merchandising is where you got most of your money back then. But now there's no point to having a wrestlers union. The only real point to having it is to make sure that you're just classified as an employee and you get benefits from the company, even though technically you can afford health insurance by yourself.
Of course. And I could afford health insurance by myself too. My job gives me health insurance.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, like if I was working with the New York City Department of Education, I'd be jumping on with Metro Plus Gold. No co-pays, no deductibles, nothing.
It's a beautiful thing. You know, so we get taken care of, and our jobs aren't half as physical as that.
That's what I'm saying. You know, you look at the indie scene, dude. I'm gonna be real honest. Indie wrestlers live in virtual poverty. Like this called a spade a spade. Unless you're the Young Bucks, which they pretty much freaking hustled their way to where they hustled. They held people down. I'm sorry, talking about Vince McMahon holding people down. There's this shit on the record of the Young Bucks blacklisting independent wrestlers from different promotions.
Yes, that I know about that. Yeah,
you know, like I'm sorry, like or a former WWE superstar who manages to like work these bigger companies, these bigger indie companies, and get like massive paydays, dude. Or the idea of the whole WWE independent contract that they have exclusivity deals. This, that, and the third. I'm like, yes, independent contractors can freely go around to other promotions and things like that. But let's call a spade a spade. Nobody would be able to afford them. Imagine John Cena doing indie promotions. They couldn't afford Cena. They couldn't afford Bautista, Triple H. They definitely couldn't afford Ronda Rousey.
Wow. Yeah, I know. Only WWE can.
And let's call a spade a spade. And let's call a spade a spade on that. The UFC. If you're calling out the WWE, you damn well better call out the UFC.
Good point. That is a very, very good point. And I think sooner than later the UFC will have to do a little more for their fighters.
Yeah, the other shoe has to drop. I'm sorry, the UFC has been under fire. Dude, the whole Reebok deal was a mess.
I think, and you know, getting back to your point you made about baseball and now the UFC too, it's a great point. If they had death rates for their players and their fighters as high as WWE has, or not just WWE, and that's unfair to say. Wrestling in general has, because I'm sure a lot of the people that get lumped into these wrestler deaths were from WCW as well. Right. And I don't think that Renegade shooting himself in the head should count on WWE because he was never there. You know, if the death rates were as high for that, and because they are considered, you know, maybe not UFC so much, they're still kind of like a certain fan base, right? But baseball is a huge thing. If the death rate due to the turning of the eye and the steroid thing, and they knew it was wrong, but they let it go anyway. If that translated into deaths,
see if Mark McGuire died, if Sammy Sosa died, if A-Rod died, if Roger Clemens died, that would have been a problem.
Yeah, and if Mark McGuire died in the middle of the season in 2000, that would be a huge deal. And then something gets done. But I feel, you know, and I don't even think we have this conversation now. I think WWE would be taking care of their people. They'd be classifying them as employees, or at the very least, you know, making sure that there's a retirement account for them or something where they can take care of themselves. You know, because it you know, the one thing, you know, the long lasting impact on me was the Roddy Piper interview. Clip from the real sports segment that got him fired from WWE in 2003, actually, believe it or not. But he talked about having to get back in the ring at 49 years old. And he's like, I'm in because I can't touch my retirement, my 401k or my retirement account until I'm 65. And I'm not making 65, and he dies at 61. That was
rough.
That was rough, and I think that was probably the hardest hit point that he made.
I still think
they do a ton of great things, and yes, today's roster is totally taken care of, but they're taken care of on the broken backs and shot knees.
But you know what?
Other wrestlers,
I want my honest opinion.
Mick Foley. You know, he's he made his money, so he's broken down, but he made his money. He can get himself fixed up. But I'm thinking about guys like, the headbangers that have to still work indies. I'm thinking about, Marty Jannetty, who's still out there doing something. D'Lo Brown, other stars, from the undercard.
But you have to understand, back then WWE wasn't making that type of money. WWE wasn't making that type of money back then.
Of course not.
And I'm not saying that. I'm not saying, like I said, didn't I say a little bit earlier that I believe that in the 80s and 90s it should have been a wrestling union, or at least a bigger push for that type of stuff. Like, I 100% wanted that. Like, I would have wanted that in the 80s and 90s, because that's when you really needed it. You don't need it now. It wouldn't work now.
Yes. Yeah. And it's not now. It's still like, I think I'm not really making my point clear. I'm talking about.
I understand what you mean. I understand what you mean. That's what I'm saying.
Specifically talking about that yesteryear. Do you think that was wrong? Because they were still making money.
Yeah, it didn't help anybody. It didn't really help anybody back then.
Maybe like a matching contribution to a retirement.
Exactly. That should have been the case. Now for me,
and that should be the case for they. I think that they make enough money where they can do like almost retroactive accounts.
Now keep in mind the past.
I think that they should be kind of shamed again into doing something for these older wrestlers.
Right, but now you want to take a look at it like this. We got to leave the past in the past, like you can grow from your past mistakes. Now, who knows if they'll set that type of stuff up in the future. Nobody knows this.
A lot of dead bodies in the wake, though.
You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of dead bodies in the wake, but then again, you have to remember there was a lot scientifically that we didn't know.
Of course.
Dude, NBA players are having longer careers because of the new science in nutrition.
Right.
And the statistician stuff.
And of course, you can't blame WWE for people developing drug addictions and stuff like that. But still, they could have done more for them.
They used to get mad at like Shelton Benjamin, and they got mad at Xavier Woods and all of them for playing video games backstage. But I think there was a wrestler recently is like, yo, play your video games. It's better than you getting into drugs, because it keeps you on the straight and narrow, and you do your thing. What I propose, if you want to do something like that, if you really want to, I'll open with this. Let's talk about the T-shirt company in Jacksonville for a minute. If AEW talent wants to do that type of shit, go right ahead. Let them do it. Even though they got the Khan's money, I don't see them making as much money as like a John Cena or Ronda Rousey or whatever the case may be. Not happening. Keep in mind, this has been said. Cody, Kenny, the Young Bucks, and Brandy are the only ones who have full benefits. Because they are executive board. We don't know shit about how the contracts work in AEW. But if they were really concerned, they'd work with the talents that they have to form a union.
Right.
Now, do you know what forming a union actually does to AEW?
It kills it.
It kills it because they can't work indie dates.
Of course. Well, I think the indie dates are going to dry up real quick if somebody were to get injured and ruin something for AEW.
That's what I'm saying. They can't work indie dates. They can't work indie dates, and two, technically as an employee, what's stopping AEW from, or even if WWE ends up having a wrestlers union, what's stopping them from putting a clause in an employee handbook that says you can't go work for another company while you're employed with us? No moonlighting.
Right.
That is a valid policy that has been put into in the past. That could be. You can't go and do that while you're here working for us. And also classifying the WWE talents, and this focus on WWE talents, as employees in the state of Connecticut. The state of Connecticut, much like the state of New York and the state of New Jersey, and a lot of other states in the contiguous United States, as well as Alaska and Hawaii, at-will employment states. They can get fired for anything, and they don't have to be told why they're getting fired.
Yes, of course. Yeah, I
so
do.
So do you really want these wrestlers to be employees? Knowing the laws of the United States, and because they will be employed in the state of Connecticut, is an at-will employment state.
Yeah.
Think about that for a minute. I should have made that case earlier. I completely forgot about that. You can get fired. That's an interesting point. You can get fired. They can basically let you go for no reason in the what town in New Jersey you at?
I'm in Caldwell.
In Caldwell, right? So the Caldwell Public School District can let you go for any reason, and they don't have to tell you why. It's the same in Connecticut, and it's the same in New York, and in a lot of other states too. So don't give me that shit that you want the WWE superstars to be employees. Nobody ever takes this into consideration, because Vince could then fire and hire whoever the hell he wants, however the hell he wants. And let's be fair, their merch will be their merch. Yeah, but within the bounds of the contract. Like that's the thing. The contract actually protects from like willful for firing for any reason. There's a specific list of reasons of why you can get fired. In the same thing with an employee handbook, but also again, like I said again, I'm repeating this for third or fourth time just to make this clear. Right to work states, not right to work for me. At-will employment states can fire you for anything because your employment is at will. Dude, talents could freely leave because it's at-will employment. Think about that for a minute. That would kill the business.
That's a good point. But I mean, you can still be an at-will state and have a contract.
Oh yeah, definitely. Remember your employee handbook is a contract.
They could have the same exact contract, but just have them as employees.
No, that's what I'm saying. Your employee handbook is effectively a contract.
Right.
Like you accept the terms of employment, but the thing about it is not for certain. For at-will employment, you can't set the length and terms.
Yes. I see. So they could. What you're saying is they could just be trapped there for 20 years or something like that.
And they don't have WWE doesn't have to give them any raises. WWE doesn't have to give them any. They don't have to get any raises. Their commission rate can stay the same. This, that, and the third, whatever the case may be, for any reason whatsoever. So this is why I'm saying the independent contractor deal is better for them, because it's kind of like a meritocracy in a sense, in a lot of ways. The more popular you are, the higher you are on the card, the higher profile you are, the more money you make. And the more money you make when the contract renewal comes up, and so on and so forth. Now, please don't take what I say at face value here. Please don't. But there is a point to be made here with that.
That's a really interesting point. And see, that's why I want to do this damn show tonight, because you always make good points. You make interesting points. You challenge me to think always.
You have to know business. Here's the thing. When you're talking about professional wrestling, when you got to talk sports too, you have to know business. At the end of the day, it's a business. You have to understand how businesses operate. You have to understand business law. You cannot come trying to start a podcast on professional wrestling and not knowing shit about business law, because you're going to look stupid when you make these comments.
Of course.
You need to know the basics in business to really understand how the product operates, how the NBA operates. Dude, the NBA players are in a union, but they're also employees of the teams that they operate for. If you played NBA 2K or even MLB The Show on a PS4, you play franchise mode and all these other things, there's so much things that go into owning a team. It's not even funny.
Yeah, I know, and it's I think Madden actually has a
Madden
really good.
Too.
They have a really good franchise mode.
So you gotta really sit there and think about, like, okay, I can't spend this much money here. I need to get this player, but I don't have enough in the salary cap. What am I going to do? What can I do within the rules and things like that? That's some of the things that you got to kind of think about when you talk this type of stuff. Because
of course. And that's why it's good to have a conversation, play a little devil's advocate, and have some fun with this. But it's a compelling topic. It's one that I'm sure you probably got I dare say, on Wrestleview, if I can brag about the site a little bit, you'll get the best explanations for these hot topics in wrestling.
Oh yeah,
you won't get better than here.
Between Doug, between Adam, I would even say back in the day when I was doing shows, and I kind of want to come back and start doing some more. Honestly,
yeah,
I would have to say that we kind of put it into perspective and really started to understand it from a different angle.
Right. We don't do the knee-jerk reactionary, uneducated, a little bit
Mike, chill. Don't lie to yourself. The post-roll is a lot of knee-jerking, bro. I love you.
Oh, come on now. I just finished watching a 3-hour show, and that's part of the appeal of the show,
I'm messing with you, man.
But I do knee-jerk sometimes. But
there is something that we do got to talk about before we end this. The character work stuff, remember?
Yes, of course. Of course, the character work stuff.
But, I mean, if there's anything you want to, like, I say wrap it up in a bow. Independent WWE wrestlers, any wrestlers that independent contractors is a lot better than having them as employees because of the state laws of how at-will employment works.
Of course. Yeah, I like that point. My true opinion is I think it's just keep it the way it is. No one's clamoring for this. If they were, they have enough clout that they could have done something.
Roman Reigns would have done something. Cena would have done something. Of course.
Oh yeah. If John Cena didn't go for it, come on now, and it's just it was a moot point. I thought he should have concentrated more on the wrestler deaths and talking about how there needs to be more done for the suffering older wrestlers now. I mean, if you had the privilege of going to StarCast like I had in September and seeing these guys moving around, CJ, it was sad.
No, I've been to Comic-Con, New York Comic-Con. Yeah. I remember like Ted DiBiase was there, Christian was there, Mick Foley was there, Lawler was there.
But you look at these guys, it's like 100 Kurt Angles all in one room, just kind of shuffling around,
and it sucks.
And it sucks to see. And I think that they could be taken care of a little better.
Keep in mind, WWE can't do shit about the WCW talents.
No. Of course, I'm talking only the people under their purview. Only the people that were under their purview. If you were with them at any time, you should have something set up in your name. Or if you died young, like maybe they have like a cutoff age, like if you died before the age of 55, let's say, then you should have something set up in Inuum for your family.
I mean, they're doing something like that with Dana Warrior, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Which actually kind of blows my goddamn mind thinking about the Ultimate Warrior what kind of person he was.
Listen, Ultimate Warrior might have been an asshole, and I'm not one to sit there and try to justify him. I'm sorry. He was very homophobic.
More than an asshole. Yeah, he was homophobic. He was the worst kind of person.
He wasn't racist in any stretch of the imagination from what I heard, but he's kind of an asshat. You know what I'm saying, with the homophobia and stuff like that. But that, in my personal opinion, that has nothing to do with his wife. And
of course not.
And then they came back to terms with him, and then he gave his own eulogy. He died the next day. Setting up his Dana and the two girls. That's something Triple H would definitely spearheaded. I know Triple H would be spearheading that type of stuff, and that's positive.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and speaking of Ultimate Warrior, real quick, I am happy that they are giving it to the Warrior Award to an actual WWE employee that has been consequential to the country. To the company, because that is what he said in his speech, what he wanted the Warrior Award for anyway. So
it would have been.
This is the first year they're living up to it. But having that kid from Rutgers and that little JJ Robertson last year, like that, those were all feel good moments too.
Well, it had to that type of stuff had to happen for the Warrior Award to kind of like get elevated a little bit first, and I think that made sense. So you want to kind of do that and then give it to the employees and give it the attention thing, so the attention is still paid there.
Right. All right. Let's talk briefly about character work, because I don't want to go too long tonight. But
dude, we've been recording for about an hour and 45 minutes. We got time, and we both got to go to bed for work. So yeah,
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. But I initially told Dad when I texted him telling him that we're gonna do this, I was like, oh yeah, we're gonna keep it an hour. I knew for a fact that wasn't gonna happen, but.
Yo, Adam, I think Adam still got my number. Tell him to text me and get mad at me. Because it was a lot of conversation going on.
Well, you know what? Once, I just knew that this was a dangerous situation. I knew once we started talking, this thing's just going to go.
Mike, let me explain to you something.
Two wrestling fans going, brother.
The Velvet Room was known as the most dangerous trio on radio. We went 4 hours, 5 hours at times.
See, that's too long.
I don't want to do that anymore. I'm too old for that.
That's too long. I'm too old for that too.
Okay.
Okay. Let's get this to 2 hours. Let's talk character work though, because that was initially when we started. We had if you're not privileged enough to be part of the Wrestleview media group on Facebook, if you have a Facebook account, I urge you to join. There are some really great conversations. Yes, there are every now and then there's a troll, but there are some really intelligent conversations to be had. And what gave me the seedling for this that grew into this show was our discussion about character work in WWE. So let's talk about it, my guy. You start.
Okay, so a lot of things that we kind of started with that conversation back, I believe it was in early March.
Yes.
Was the Becky Lynch character. How everybody was loving the Becky Lynch character. Some of us didn't like the Becky Lynch character. And I was busy watching some videos about characters in Dragon Ball Z. Yes, I'm a big anime nerd, and it kind of makes sense here. They were talking about different type of characters, such as the flat characters and character growth and so on and so on and so forth. I can't remember the exact terms at this moment. I had it in my head and it just flew away. It's getting late too for me, so...
Right.
Now, I stated that in the WWE, there's always been a character, the moral compass of the WWE. I called Hulk Hogan the moral compass of the WWE. Austin was the moral compass of the WWE. John Cena is still the moral compass of the WWE. Until we crown Roman Reigns that moral compass. Yes, it will be Roman. It won't be Becky. It won't be Ronda. It won't be Charlotte. It will be Roman Reigns or Seth Rollins, who will be the moral compass of the WWE. Or Braun Strowman, eventually. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Now, those are your flat characters. Those are the characters where everything revolves around. They don't change, but everything else around them changes.
Right.
Becky Lynch is a flat character. Everything around Becky changes. And this is why I made the mention earlier in the show that the Becky Lynch storyline negatively affected everything else in terms of writing, in terms of character development and everything.
Right.
Yes, everybody still had their own little pocket universes and pocket storylines. However, Becky Lynch is the sun. Everything else revolves around her, unfortunately, in this case. She, as a character, isn't written well. And that's the problem with her. You can be a flat character and be written exceptionally well. Goku, Frieza, 2 examples if you guys watch Dragon Ball or anime. 2 examples of great flat characters. And if you watch One Piece, Monkey D. Luffy. Excellent flat characters. Or even so much so, I want to try to bring it to American cartoons. Batman and Superman.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. I can get down with that.
Batman and Superman for a certain amount of time were flat characters where everything else changed around them. And things like that. So you got with Batman, Tim Drake and Dick Grayson and Barbara Gordon and Commissioner Gordon, Joker, all the villains, everything growing. And the Joker is like the other flat character in the Batman universe. Those two are literally polar opposites. Batman's not really doing it for anybody. He's doing a lot of this stuff for himself. Everything is for himself. The Joker is for himself. Becky is doing everything for herself. Charlotte is Becky's counterpart in this, doing everything for herself. Ronda went through a character arc the entire year. If you weren't paying attention, I don't know what you're doing watching wrestling.
I know. She started off as the happy-go-lucky greenhorn wrestler to someone who got spurned by the fans and was still trying to persevere through it. And then finally she said, screw this, and snapped. is like a female Ken Shamrock now. You know,
she is Ken Shamrock now. Yep.
Yeah, it is a good thing going on there. That she has tremendous character work. That is an actual story arc that I can get behind, and it makes sense. But that is missing from so many of the roster.
And I'll tell you why.
There are people that have been around for 10 plus years. If you ask me to explain what Dolph Ziggler does,
I was just about to say that.
Couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you whatsoever. In fact, Seth Rollins, I'm kind of lost on.
I'm going to point out Ronda Rousey. Go back to Ronda Rousey a little bit. Now, yes, she went through a negative character. She went through a negative character arc where she actually was trying to do the right thing and got pushed into the villainous role because everything else was against her and she didn't react properly to it, quote unquote. Charlotte has pushed herself into more of an anti-villain role. She's not an anti-hero. She's an anti-villain. She's doing everything right. You know, she's doing everything bad, but for the right reasons.
Right.
And the end result is typically positive for her. Becky's an anti-hero where she's doing everything right, but it just all comes up villainous for her. Like, she's actually a bad person. Like, Becky Lynch's character is not a good person that you should be looking up to at all. Yes. In no way, shape, or form. You know, you want to sit there, right? So that's characters. It's not written well. It's not executed well, but there's something there that you can disseminate, right? The Revival. Who the fuck are the Revival?
I don't know, but like I could let me go through my Raw. I could just look up my Raw recap right now and look at just different segments. Like Bobby Lashley, the purpose is what?
I mean,
what is Bobby Lashley
before Leo Rush?
Yes, before Leo Rush, Bobby. That's partly why he couldn't get over it. Like, you can have a great look if you have no character, no one gives a shit.
Which is funny because in TNA. Holy shit. Like, in Impact Wrestling, dude was like
big fish in a small pond.
No, I understand that. But at the same time, it's like, where the hell did all that go?
Right. Nia Jax.
That's an anomaly.
They don't know what they have.
No, they got it. No, they got it.
I think
they had it. They're not executing
They had it for a second where they kind of figured out, okay, this is what we're going to do with her. And then they stopped. And then now she's stuck in the endless cycle of just, she should be in a featured match on WrestleMania. She should be going against. She should have been going up against Charlotte for the SmackDown Women's Championship. 100%. Something. She was primed for something big. Hell, you could like if the intergender thing kind of took off, you could have made a triple threat intercontinental title match or something like that. Who knows what you could have done with it?
I mean, honestly, I would have loved to see Nia Jax. Actually, technically, I would have loved to see Charlotte versus Nia Jax and at Fastlane to get into the triple threat. Because you know what? Becky has beef with Nia still. They've never finished that.
Right. Right. And that's a natural ready-made program if she were to become champion. But damn, you know, they keep dropping the ball on her. Like they go through moments where I remember about a year ago, they were letting her, they were giving her squash matches.
Oh, yeah.
And she was killing people. And I was really getting into her. I was like, oh my God, I could just watch her kill small ladies all day long. And then they stopped. And then she became screaming, crying, emotional Nia Jax, and just.
Oh well, that one was around the time that she was winning awards and stuff, so you really couldn't put her in the heel position with that, and that was the big problem.
I agree, but with the awards that she was getting, it was like
it was a mess.
It was one of those, if the tree falls in the woods, no one. It's like these awards nobody gives a shit about.
I mean,
that exists in the bubble.
Now keep this in mind, okay? We're talking about character work, and we're talking about people that just haven't had it. So let's talk about people that had it first in order to get a reference.
Well, initially when we started this conversation about a month ago, we were talking about the OVW guys.
Oh, the OVW 4, the four kings of OVW.
The four: Lesnar, Orton, Cena, and Bautista.
Yep. And keep this in mind.
There hasn't been anyone close since then.
Lesnar lost all that character acting, though. And that's the thing. He lost most of it. But one of my favorite Lesnar segments was before No Way Out 2004, where my man comes out with a mariachi band in the ring, and he comes with his big ass sombrero, and he's just dancing. It is like a gift that Doug and I love, and it's just like
you know what my favorite one was. It's kind of forgotten about, but it was in the lead up actually, just a month later from that.
Yeah,
with
the Goldberg joint.
Yes, when he goes, he's kneeling in the ring, screaming and crying, "Give me Goldberg!"
I love the interaction between him and Kurt Angle one time when they was just drinking milk.
Oh yeah,
and it was like somebody, and I think it was Edge just walked in. No, it was a lady, one of the extras that walked in. They thought it was some homoerotic stuff, and it was like, yo, Brock was so good, and Cena came in like. Here's the thing, Bautista, Orton, and Lesnar, they had their thing secured. Cena was almost gone,
right?
Because, like, from what I understood to what Cena had said, and he said this in multiple different interviews, especially on the Center Stage with Michael K show on Yes Network that plays ever so often.
That was awesome, by the way.
You know, he says, I didn't have a character. I was just a guy in, like, wrestling tights with a busted up fade. And I was about to be fired. And then I just showed up in the Halloween segment dressed as Vanilla Ice, and I rapped to Stephanie, and they just took off with it. You know, they heard him rapping on one of the buses, and they took off with it.
Yep. That is still always a great story. Well, Bautista even came in as Deacon Bautista.
Oh, just call my name.
That was a great theme song. He called my name.
Oh man, Reverend Devon, man, that was great. You know, and he was just a big muscle bound freak that would just shake you down for money.
And yeah, exactly.
And it was good.
Well, there's a great story about when he used to carry around the coin box, and take money from the fans, and then the APA and Bautista would go out afterwards and spend that money on adult beverages.
Oh, that was the best. I mean, that's something that's Farouk and JBL for damn sure. Then you have so much so those that were around the OVW4. Okay, so you have the Shelton Benjamins, who was in a tag team with Brock Lesnar in OVW. Shelton Benjamin, I'm going to be honest with you, the biggest flash of character that he showed was toward his last run against Christian for the ECW championship.
I liked him doing the when he dyed his hair gold, and all that stuff, the gold standard. I like that one.
I think the one best moment I still remember of Shelton Benjamin was Yoshitatsu's debut. And he just started like, stand back, or I call Gojira. And I'm like, wait, where was all of this, Shelton?
I know. Where was that in 2004 when you had a chance?
Yeah, where was all of that? That's funny. I mean, yes, it's racist, but just that was funny.
I know. You know? Oh my God, that would never stand up now.
Yeah,
but
Rico Constantino, who was in bowling services with Cena.
You know? Yeah, Rico was actually tabbed to be a major player at one point,
and it just didn't pan out.
Didn't pan out at all.
You know,
but that OVW4, the way they developed them, and
Jim Cornette, baby,
it was, you know, and there's something to be said for developing these people with people that were successful.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's one thing. I mean, like, yeah, I'm sure the Performance Center coaches are great. Yeah, and they have Shawn Michaels down there now, which maybe we'll have a conversation in 3 years when those dividends start to pay off. And
they've already started paying off. Kevin Owens.
Sure, but I'm talking about the people that are down there full time with Shawn Michaels.
Motherfucking Dream.
Sure. Yes. And we'll see how that, but again, we have to see how that translates to the main roster.
Right.
We're not going to see long lasting dividends from that for another 2 or 3 years.
Of course not.
And so I'm interested in that, but having, you know, Hugh Morris, that's all I have for his name. Bill DeMott down there, who was never was, maybe could be a good trainer. But if he's the one directing you on how to build your character, you're not going to – I'm sorry.
I mean, Albert might be the best one there. I mean, Albert, Matt Bloom.
Jesus Christ. His name used to be Prince Albert.
Yes.
Because
a penis piercing.
Oh my God. I can't believe that used to be his name. Sometimes I think about
Welcome to the 90s,
Prince
ladies
Albert.
and gentlemen. Welcome to the 90s. No, but putting that into perspective and thinking about that, right? When we shit on Jim Cornette for being an old man. He basically an old man sitting on his lawn like Clint Eastwood, get off my lawn.
Yes, very much.
But Jim Cornette was responsible for John Cena, damn it.
Mm-hmm. He was responsible for John Cena. He was responsible for
Brock Lesnar,
Batista, Randy Orton,
Santino fucking Marella. Like
Santino Marella was actually a Russian. I believe he had, or as a.
It was supposed to be a Russian gimmick.
Serbian, no, not Serbian. What's the?
Not Yugoslavian, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, what's that area in Russia that's like in the cold mountains? The something Serbian. Yeah, he was like some Serbian slayer or something. He was an MMA guy. He had him doing that kind of gimmick,
and it just didn't work. And then we got Santino Marella, and Santino Marella had probably one of the best careers that a mid-card guy can ever have.
Correct. He had character work, but he had character work. He knew how to work it from one of wrestling's ultimate characters. And I just don't agree with wrestling was always good or at least passable when it was written by people that know the ins and outs of the industry.
And even if you're a TV writer, I mean, you're working with characters. So like the TV writers benefited from that early time writing with characters like Edge and Orton and so on and so forth.
They were working with something that was already established, but through other means, not through them building it for them.
Yes.
And at the time it was very touch and go. It was probably they took a lot of input from, and I don't like this, let's try this. And now it's just you do what you're told.
And even with that, you can still
we're now.
And even with that, the Bella twins didn't have the best mic work, but their character work was amazing.
But their character work got way better once Total Divas came around, and then you had no choice but to let them bring their natural personas into the mix. It really wasn't until Total Divas that they really took off.
But that's what I'm saying. I've said that for months.
But that's because they did it themselves, and it was almost like you had no choice but to let them be. You had to let Nicole Garcia be Nicole Garcia times 10,
and you had to let Brianna Danielson be Brianna Danielson times 10.
Right, and instead of let's mute Brianna Danielson and make her, and now you're Brie Bella, and this is what Brie Bella does.
Yeah. Now, I mean, Johnny Ace came in, and people didn't like Johnny Ace. Fucking people power. Like,
that's a great impression.
I love that shit. Like, why? Johnny Ace understood character.
Of course. And, I just think now they need some wrestlers. They need to let Michael Hayes have more autonomy. Let Road Dogg have more autonomy. When Michael Hayes was writing for SmackDown.
Gregory Helms.
Exactly. And maybe that's what they're doing now. Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what they are doing. Bruce Pritchard.
Yeah.
They had a big influx of people come back from kind of yesteryear almost.
Yep. To
kind of, I always think of Vince McMahon whenever I say inject a lethal dose of personality.
Pretty much
to these people, because it wasn't working, CJ. Now we're 10 years removed from like the last time that the show was written by, wrestlers in a sense. And now the writing staff has had a full 10 years and the character work never been worse.
But let's be honest, there was always wrestlers on the writing teams. I don't know how familiar you are with Robert R.D. Evans, Archibald Peck.
Yes.
He's on the Raw writing team right now. Jimmy Jacobs was responsible for the list.
Oh yeah, I'm talking, but yeah, that's a good point.
There was always wrestlers on the writing team,
right? But at the end of the day, it's they really put a lot of stock into these TV writers that were a dime a dozen,
And it's not even just the TV writers. I'm going to be honest with you. It's the influx of indie talent. It's the influx of indie talent that actually causes that's a problem too, because
there's no character work on the indie scene whatsoever.
Like Daniel Bryan, Kevin Owens were the last few characters on the indie. Look, MJF, Maxwell,
CM Punk too.
CM Punk is iffy, and I'm not trying to hate on Punk. Character work was iffy for him. He was just a genuine asshole. Like
if he wasn't committed to the character.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, he's Sasha Banks before Sasha Banks.
Yes. Yeah. They have the same cup size too, I think.
Yeah, I'm just saying he's Sasha Banks before Sasha Banks. I'll put it out there. But you got characters on the indie scene right now that are doing their damnedest. You got Maxwell Jacob Friedman, who is a fantastic asshole heel. Fantastic character. Ali, who just got unfortunately signed to AEW. Amazing character work. Su Yung in Impact grew so much in so many years. Rosemary on Impact. You have Tommaso freaking Ciampa.
Yes.
Dude.
Yeah. Well, God, him going down. What a devastating thing.
That hurts. You got the Velveteen Dream now coming up with that character that he has. Bianca Belair. Shayna Baszler is starting to get into herself now. You're starting to see the seedling sprout.
Right. A comeback of character. But those are also controlled circumstances again.
That's what I said,
we have to see. Yeah, exactly. We have to see how this pans out on the main roster. But I do think that we're going to see, and we kind of have been seeing it too, a little less of the formulaic writing, where it's like I say my speech, you say your speech, and then we just brawl. There has like
Monday night.
Yeah, case in point, Seth, the big brawl with the women, the Seth Rollins Brock Lesnar thing.
I'm sorry, I still love the fact that Ronda right after the match ends, she fucking throat punched Charlotte.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was awesome.
She just honestly, got out the pin like boom. I'm like, oh shit, that just happened.
And honestly, like with listening to something to wrestle with and all that stuff, a lot of this stuff has Bruce Pritchard's handprints all over it.
Oh, dude, it is Paul Heyman. It is Bruce Pritchard.
Yeah,
it is
Paul
Greg
Heyman
Helms,
and Pritchard and Jeff Jarrett.
And it's Michael P.S. Hayes. It's Billy Kidman, Road Dogg, quote unquote fire Road Dogg. Please.
Oh God, please. But it suffered for almost a decade when you didn't have as many major stars. I mean, like you need to learn from people who have been there and done that.
Like if John Cena is sitting here telling you this is what you need to do, listen to this man.
Exactly.
Roman went to Cena. Punk and Cena were almost best friends.
Right. And where did Cena learn from? Jim Cornette. Where did Cena learn from? Stephanie. He listened to the people that were already successful around him. Undertaker took him under his wing.
Oh man, Undertaker took him under his. Kurt Angle took him under his wing.
Right.
And Kurt Angle was the best character actor of the 90s.
You have the 2000s at least, yeah, for sure.
Of the late 90s, early 2000s, excuse me.
Yeah, his big peak was then. But man, but you need guys that have been there, done that, and with a lot of the legends being gone, like a lot of the major stars of the past being gone. Like where are these people learning from? Also, car rides, everybody kind of like puts their headphones on now. Like do they still have the car rides where where a veteran takes a young greenhorn in the car with them and just talks to them for 4 hours on the way to Peoria, telling them the ins and outs?
Probably with Mark Henry.
Well, yeah. Oh, great Mark Henry story real quick. My brother just flew down to Texas, and Mark Henry was, I guess, in the area doing some promotional work for WrestleMania. And who does he pass? Who's sitting in first class on his plane but Mark Henry?
Nice.
Yeah. Took a picture of him from behind. He's massive.
Now keep in mind, like Mark Henry, Mark Henry had something to do with the New Day.
Oh, definitely.
Most
endorsed.
Definitely.
Oh yeah.
Like signed, sealed, delivered, all of that. JBL was probably doing a lot of character work with people because JBL was probably one of the better characters in the late 2000s.
And who knew that would ever come?
Yeah.
I'll never forget when he came out the first night as John Bradshaw Layfield 2 weeks after WrestleMania 20. And I was like, what are they? What? Okay, I guess they're trying anything.
And dude was like the biggest heel for about 10 months. And it was just crazy.
Yeah, for 10 months. But he carried that brand for about 2 years before his body betrayed him.
Oh, yeah. Working with Bautista, working with Edge, working with Taker, working with Mysterio. Big show. You know, Booker, Heidenreich. Like, Heidenreich was another good character. Whoo! Heidenreich was a character that's underrated.
It's especially when you look at what we have today, and he definitely wasn't appreciated. If he was here today, he'd be lit.
Snitsky was another underrated character. Eugene was another underrated character.
Oh God, Eugene just feels so bad watching it now, though.
No, you see, because of what we know about mental health and learning disabilities and things like that. But
it was bad even then, knowing that the guy's totally fully. Oh God.
I mean, but Nick Dinsmore isn't like, he isn't like really like that, but at the same time, it's like, you know, Gregory. It kind of weird thing. Gregory Iron in the Indies, he has cerebral palsy, and he made that. He actually made that a thing, which was great. That's the thing. A lot of the characters in the early, a lot of characters that we don't remember from that small wrestling lull from 2002 until the rise of John Cena. There was a lot of great characters baked in the middle of that. Tyson Tomko as an enforcer. Victoria as a crazy woman.
Yeah.
You know, I can go
Stevie Richards too.
Steven Richards with Victoria.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Jazz. Oh, I love Jazz so much.
Teddy Long with the White Boy Challenge.
Yeah.
The Master Lock Challenge.
Rodney Mack. Yep.
Oh, you got the Master Lock Challenge with Chris Masters.
Carlito.
Early Carlito before he got lazy and called out by Ric Flair.
Right.
You know, I want to say on the SmackDown side of things, because SmackDown was what I watched the most. Eddie Guerrero, you know, MVP.
Oh, Eddie Guerrero is a legend. That's not a forgotten about one. MVP for sure, though. I loved when MVP went on his losing streak.
Yeah.
And I remember that one time he came out and he was like, oh, yeah, I lost another match and this and that. He was doing the VIP lounge.
Oh, yeah.
And then they came and repoed his furniture because he was...
I remember the one match before they broke the streak, before they broke the losing streak. His match was against Kazarni. Dude gets pinned by Kazarni, no-sells it, and sits right the fuck back up. And it's just like, damn. They did that. And they didn't take that out of the tape recording? That's special.
And I want to make it very clear that we are not endorsing Kazarni as one of those forgotten about great talents.
No. I just remember that because of MVP. Matt Hardy version 1 was probably one of the greatest reinventions of a character until Broken Matt.
Except for Undertaker, American Badass for sure.
Oh, American Badass, Undertaker, Christian, Temper Tantrum Christian. Yo, yes. DDP, yo, it's me, it's DDP.
No, not that. As the positive guy with the big smile.
I like you.
Hell, even Maven had something to offer.
A little bit. And that's the thing. There was so many character work emphasized the WWE for a solid 10 years. Everything is cyclical, but that's the thing. Even in the 94, 95 year, 96, which was real bad, there was barely any real characters then.
Right. It was all gimmicks. It was all like, let's try a gimmick that people can connect with rather than let's try to find a character people can connect with.
Right. So you go back in, and in Austin and Attitude Era, there weren't really gimmicks. They were just like blue collar characters that people can, blue collar and white collar characters that people can identify with. And then you go into the time again with the character work. Kurt Angle, Jimmy Crackcorn, and I Don't Care.
Yeah. I always talk about those storyline arcs that would last for just one show where you got to see a mid-card guy kind of shine for that night.
D'Lo motherfucking Brown. Like, that happened multiple times with him.
I always go back to the lead up to SummerSlam 2002 when The Rock was undisputed champion. He was out on Raw doing a promo, and he was interrupted by Eddie Guerrero, who at the time was still finding his footing in the new WWF.
The Rock thing. Like, ay, arriba.
Yeah. And then he goes, oh, my daughter had your poster on the wall and I tore it up. And he goes, what in the blue hell is wrong with you and your parenting? You know, it was this great thing. And they had a really fun main event. And then after it was all said and done, then he gets back to Brock Lesnar. But that was a really good storyline arc for that show.
Oh, dude, Jeff Hardy and Undertaker.
Right, exactly. Or even at that time, then that very same week he had that match with Kurt Angle where that was a storyline arc that kind of built to something else.
The double submission finish?
Yes, that was awesome. But I think that sometimes when they're at a loss for what to do, find a guy who's kind of just like floating around, who could use a little
they did that
rub from going against Roman Reigns for just for tonight.
Recently,
they started doing that recently, but I think they should do it more often because if you think back, there would be times when even in the Attitude Era where Crash Holly would be a featured guy on the show for that night.
Shouts out to Funtime USA, which is no more, which is now just a storage facility on Emmons Avenue. You with the whole
with the
ball pit in the hardcore house. Yeah, that was a thing. No, they did that recently with Mustafa Ali. Mustafa Ali was a return to that, and that's the thing. And nobody expected that to happen.
Correct.
That's the thing people need. I think, like I said, wrestling is cyclical. I think we're going back to that time in the early 2000s to like the rise of John Cena.
But then you really think about that, like you go back to that time, but every single time wrestling's successful, it's when you rely on that. Wrestling is built on the larger than life personalities. It's not built so much on these epic, 10,000 twist and turn storylines. Yeah, those accentuate this is why wrestling that accentuates the build to the show. But at the end of the day, people are tuning in to see characters. People are tuning in to watch a main event between two larger than life guys going at it and doing their thing and their personalities, the emoting to the crowd. At the end of the day, when you get in the ring and the bell and the bell sounds, it's your personality that's going to carry you through that match. Not how many great moves you can do.
Oh, yeah. And this is why the WWE
you look at all these guys. Yeah, exactly. And you look at all these guys that can do great moves. It never translates. And in fact, I think they do so many dives and they're so dangerous, some of these dives. Nobody cares about them because they've seen it before. They expect it. I think they need to start getting people conditioned again to caring about dives.
No, it's not. Yeah, make the dives a super special thing. Like, you said it. Doug said it. I agree with it. Ricochet's whatever
630. It's got to
be a special move.
That has to be for big pay-per-view matches only. Not every week on Raw. It's not a throwaway move.
And before we go, I want to point out one thing that that really stays stuck in my head all this time about on SmackDown. Do you remember Paul London and Billy Kidman?
Of course.
Do you remember the storyline that revolved around injuring Chavo Guerrero with the shooting star press?
Uh-huh.
Do you know for a solid 3 months they never used the shooting star press until Billy Kidman turned heel?
Right.
So they actually framed it around that move. Do you know how nuts that is? They did that once with Seth Rollins where the RKO was banned. You know what? Since you banned the RKO, I'm going to go in the back and I'm going to RKO every son of a bitch I see.
Yeah.
And what did he do? RKO'd every son of a bitch he saw.
Right. Well, that's a big missed opportunity with Nia Jax. Her finisher should be the knockout punch.
Oh, dude, they teased the shit out of that multiple times. Dude, she's missed that punch. She's missed that punch more times than I can count.
Right. But on commentary, they never build it up.
And I kept saying, the day she hits that punch on somebody, it's over.
Yep.
They have to. The Big Show ain't wrestling no more. Give it a goddamn knockout punch. Like, come on.
Exactly. Man, this is a fun conversation. This is I had a lot of fun tonight.
Man, we gotta do this again sometime. Shoot.
Hell yeah. I hope everybody that's listened to us has enjoyed this as much as I have. CJ, I really appreciate you finding some time to do this with me.
Look, listen, you caught me on a day where I didn't have to go to work. So, you know what I'm saying? If it wasn't today, it probably would have been Friday, but you're going to be in my neck of the woods on Friday night.
Oh, yeah.
So unless I can get a ticket, though, like, I'm going to try.
Please do. If I find a good deal for 3 tickets, I might let you know.
You didn't get the ticket yet?
I'm waiting. The tickets were too high.
So this is what you check I would say check StubHub now. If you can get 3 tickets, let me know how much and I'll give you the money the day of. Like,
sounds good, man.
I really at the very least want to make it because Walter.
I know. Walter. I got to see that match. I have to see that match. I'm super stoked for it. Dude, I'm super stoked for WrestleMania. This is just another good addition to our website and the content that we're providing for you. Are
you going to SmackDown?
I am going to go to SmackDown. I'm going to try my best to make it to SmackDown.
You didn't get the tickets for that either, no?
No, well that one there's tons of tickets out there. That one I'll take care of.
You get tickets for me too. I'll get you. No, I can't make it. I work from 7 to 10.
Darn.
Yeah.
But oh gosh. But anyway, CJ, I just gotta say thank you. I've been wanting to do this for a while. I'm glad we got to do this and on WrestleMania week of all times.
Oh yeah, man.
So we got to do it again. I hope everybody.
Unfortunately, I'm going on a self-imposed wrestling break after the Superstar shakeup until about Extreme Rules in Philly. So
that's perfect. Then we might reconvene then and do this again, or maybe around SummerSlam, or maybe probably before that.
If you want to go to Toronto, we can totally do that.
I gotta get my passport in order.
Unless you have an enhanced driver's license, you can do it.
I'll have to look into it.
All jokes aside, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for doing this, CJ. Thank you for to you listening to us right now. Thank you for taking the time to tune in and listen to us. I hope you enjoy your WrestleMania week. I hope you enjoy the show. I hope you enjoy all the shows, and I hope you just enjoy wrestling for what it's supposed to be.
Oh yeah.
Fun. I hope you have fun watching this week, and that's my sincere hope for everybody that listens to this show. Lot of content coming up. There's gonna be a watch along podcast tomorrow night with Adam and Doug.
Oh yeah,
watching NXT. We're gonna have the post show after WrestleMania, and me and Victoria will also be calling in with our live thoughts. We're gonna do post Raw immediately after Raw. I sacrificed going to Raw to do the post Raw live, and I can't wait for that. Also, Victoria's birthday, April 8th, so we got to do something big. So everybody, thank you so much for listening to us. CJ, thanks for joining me tonight.
No problem.
Have a great night and enjoy WrestleMania.
And before I go, if you want to catch some, I'd still do some writing on the side. So if you want to catch some of my writing, check out AndroidCentral.com. I'm my Amazon product expert, so I talk about Amazon products and things like that. So, that's some of the things that I'm doing, my first paid journalism gig. So this is great.
Awesome, man. We're doing a wrestling podcast. How dare I forget to plug the gimmicks and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, look, as it is, man, amateur. It's fun. Nah, it's all good. Don't sweat it, man. As it is. It's a lot of fun doing this. And, I've had fun doing journalism for so long. I like talking podcasts and all that different kind of stuff. So it's really fun. Thank you for having me. And
my pleasure. Good. And have a great weekend, everybody. Thanks a lot.